Well, hello and welcome to this special edition of Live only on StAngelolive.com. This is an election night primary runoff special edition. Right now, let's get to the results before we get to anything else tonight because we have plenty to unpack tonight. Let's check out the early Tom Green County judge race in this one between Lane Carter and Todd Coles. And right now, as we can see, the early voting ballots that are in 52% leaning in the direction of Mr. Lane Carter, the former San Angelo City Councilman. Todd Coles, and the 47% there. 296 mail-in ballots in favor of Lane Carter, 241 in favor of Todd Coles. Total, and then you go into the early ballots, 1214 for Lane Carter, 1105 for Todd Coles, and 1520 total ballots for Mr. Carter, 1346 to Todd Coles. All right, let's move along here. Bill Ford, Sean Nanny in this one here. Right now, Mr. Sean Nanny leading the incumbent 60% to 40%. This is still a very tight race here. Early voting results, a lot leaning in the favor of Mr. Nanny here, 445 to 269. Early ballots in that one, mail-in ballots 69 to 70. That one, Mr. Ford in the lead there, but overall 60-40%. Let's keep on trucking through. Let's get to Ron Perry, Stacy, Speck. Right now, Stacy Speck leading Ron Perry 58% to 42%. 402 total ballots in favor of Ms. Speck to Ron Perry's 293. All right, we have plenty to unpack tonight. That's just a small taste of this. This is a special election night edition of Live right here on San Angelo Live. Let's start right now. All right. Well, hello and welcome to Live right here on San Angelo Live, the election night edition here on www.StAngelolive.com. I'm Manny Diaz alongside Mr. Yanis Green.
Good to be here.
Yes, indeed. And Yanis, we have been on this journey since January, and I think probably even more so because Joe Hyde's in the building. So, and as he was running for Tom Green County judge, we've been in this. It feels like we've been in this race with him since October.
It does. It's been several months, and tonight's the night. Three of these folks will win, and the other three will their campaigns will end tonight. And of course, what they're vying for is a spot on the November general election ballot. Mm-hmm. And the only one where there is an opponent there will be for county judge, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But right now, the races are still very close, and these are unofficial results until they're, of course, canvassed by the Republican Party on down the road. But right now, we'll bring you those results as Vanna Hudson and the Elections Office make them available to us.
Definitely. Well, I think, before we kind of really get started tonight, we saw tragedy peek its ugly head down in South Texas in Uvalde at Robb Elementary School down there in Uvalde, Texas. What was it, 18 that were injured?
There were, there 21 people were killed.
Okay.
And a lone gunman, 18 years old, from Uvalde. At least 14 of those, I think maybe 16 now, were students who were killed. It is a tragedy. It should never have happened, and of course, our hearts and prayers go out to those families. It's a very, very tough thing, tough thing. Again, we're devastated, but we all have jobs to do, and tonight we've got to talk about this election. So. Definitely. We'll get through this. There's also some weather out there we might mention from time to time. You might even hear it from time to time.
Yeah. So we ask you kind of keep your hearts open tonight for the many folks down in South Texas.
That's right.
All righty. Well, let's kind of get into this. We saw the early election results kind of peek their heads, if you will. And right now, we're seeing Sean Nanny leading Bill Ford in these local races.
Yeah.
We're seeing Lane Carter, the former San Angelo City Councilman, leading Todd Coles. And then Stacy Speck leading the way against Ron Perry. Before we kind of move into the show, Yanis, your early thoughts of this and how things are progressing.
Well, it is very interesting these races are extremely close. I think that you have to know how hard these folks have worked. I think that if there's anything disappointing today, and we'll talk about it later, and Vanna Hudson talks about it as well, it's voter turnout. And you heard Sarah Stogner and I talk about that yesterday. Voter turnout has been dismal, and it's typical in a runoff election to have turnout like this. So the votes actually carry a lot more weight, those folks who cast ballots.
Definitely.
I know that the candidates were sure hoping that a lot more people would get out and vote, but during primetime voting this afternoon, we did have a thunderstorm, so that will affect Election Day voting, and we'll see what if any, result that had or effect that had on the races.
Right, absolutely. Well, live tonight, this special edition of this live primary election runoff show is proudly presented by Angelo Bolt and Industrial Supply. Thank you so much to them for being part of our show tonight. Go see them at 808 Warehouse Road right here in San Angelo, Texas. All right, so we kick things off with showing some results. Meanwhile, Vanna Hudson and the crew down there at the election office at the Ed B. Keys building just hard at work tonight. Yanis Green, you actually had an opportunity to chat with her. I'll let you kind of toss to this interview here.
We talked with Vanna about the process and about the changes in the law for election integrity since 2020, since the presidential election. And we went through this paper
Are
paper
we
trail.
grocery shopping?
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
It's confusing for new voters. And she also mentioned the changes in the mail-in ballots, and there's more required there. It's just to keep the election safe. And so they've had they need to tweak the law and to tweak what elections administrators can do and how they can help. But anyway, we had a nice conversation about that. Vanna Hudson, the Tom Green County Elections Administrator, and we can go to that right now.
Yeah. All right. Without further ado, Yanis Green, Vanna Hudson in a previous interview.
Well, good afternoon, and we are back on San Angelo Live. I'm Yanis Green, and Elections Administrator for Tom Green County. Our good friend Vanna Hudson is here. Vanna, thanks you for coming by.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
You're not busy or anything this week, are you?
Yeah, we're playing cards, taking it easy.
We're right in the middle of early voting for a primary runoff election. Explain how we got here.
Well, we did the primary in March, and there were obviously some races that we didn't have a clear winner. And so to determine who's going to go to the November ballot, we have to have this primary runoff, and there's some statewide on both parties. And then, of course, there's local ones on the Republican ballot.
Okay, and that's what folks have seen the most of right now are the three local runoff races, and there are the statewide races. There's 3 on the Republican side, and I think there's 4 on the Democrat ballot. Early voting runs through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at your office in the Keys building.
Right.
How's that going right now?
We're seeing a good, steady turnout. And I want to mention, too, we also have a precinct chair race in the Republican Party.
Okay.
For Precinct 215. So I don't want to forget those folks either. But, yeah, it's been steady since we started, even early in the morning all the way to the end of the day. So we're glad to have everybody coming out. I think a lot came out for the constitutional amendment election thinking it was a primary runoff, and then
Right.
got surprised and had to come back. But here we are.
That was another thing. We had just had an election for what the boys at the legislature in Austin did, which was the 2 constitutional amendment elections. They passed statewide, so the voters got to go vote in that. And now we've got this is the last one until November.
I hope you're right.
We hope.
Yes, I hope you're right.
And you and I both know that traditionally there's been a bit of a low turnout in races like this, in elections like this. Around 70,000 voters in Tom Green County. Where do you stand now? Do you think it's going to be kind of low?
It's, I think there's a lot of certain local interest, so that'll probably draw out more than we would normally see in a primary runoff, because usually it's just statewide races.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we have the local races on there, I think we're going to see a little bit higher. I don't think it's going to be a record setting of any kind, but I think people are very much interested in trying to choose who's going to go to that November ballot.
Now, we've got 12 hours a day up through Friday for early voting, and then Election Day is Tuesday, and that's also, we're going to have, what, 20 polling?
18, I believe.
18.
18 this time. Because, we've lost a few locations and so forth. So voters want to check our website, votetomgreencounty.gov, and make sure that they know where they can go. We try to keep as consistently, the polling places as consistent as we can, but we are losing a few, so they want to make sure where they can go.
And the voting process itself is a little different this time.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we now have the audit paper trail. Yeah.
So it's paper, plastic, sort of.
Yeah, what happens when the voter comes in is they're going to get checked in just like they always have, and then they're going to go back to get their ballot, quote unquote. They'll get the access code just like they did before, but they're also going to get a piece of paper now. And they insert that paper, they enter the access code, insert that paper, make their choices. They have a chance to review it on the machine, and then they print it and have a chance to review that printed paper. But it's not cast unless they scan it through the scanner. So we've had some voters that are wanting to try to take that piece of paper with them, and they can't do that, or they've wasted their time because their vote's not cast. So
That's right. And the election integrity bill that is sort of governing that's all the new stuff that you have to deal with, the new regulations and new processes. But you want voters now, the big thing is, don't leave with that ballot. You
Exactly.
need to put it through the counting machine, the scanner, and make sure that it's counted while you're there.
Right. That's for the in-person. Now, I also want to take a minute just to talk about the ballot by mail because
Right,
there's been
right.
such a huge change in that. Voters are reminded they have to apply for a ballot every year, every calendar year. They can start January 1, so we'll see some intake of that in November as well. On that application, they have to provide their driver's license or the last four of their social or indicate they don't have one of those issued. We're encouraging everybody to put both on there because we're finding some records have one and not the other. We also have some voters that maybe when they got set up years ago, they were driving and had a driver's license number, but now they're using an ID number. So
Okay.
social will help match them in a lot of cases. That's the first step. Once we get you set up for a ballot by mail, then we mail you the ballot, and you have to provide that information again on that envelope. So it's no longer just the signature, but it's also those numbers. And we're seeing a huge amount of rejections and a huge amount of follow-up that we're having to do. In the May 7th election, I had 260 something that we had to process trying to get those numbers, and ended up ultimately rejecting 75. So I don't like to see anybody waste their time in their vote. So I want to make sure that they understand they have to provide those numbers now.
And it is a new process, but it's critical on those mail-in ballots, especially to make sure that the signatures are all there and the numbers are all there, all of the identifying things. But your office is still reaching out to those that you have questions on and trying to get those ballots counted.
Yes, we are. There's a window, a very small window, where we can actually mail it back to them with the corrective form, and then they can return those to us. And then there's another window where we have to call them or mail them a letter, and they have to come in person or use the ballot tracker, state ballot tracker, which hasn't proven to be as friendly in every case as we would like for it to be, because it's obviously there's such a huge need for the security to where the voter has to provide so much information. And they actually have to provide their driver's license and social to get into the ballot tracker. And if that's not on their record, both of them on their record, then they can't get in. So,
Okay.
we're working our way through it, and voters are starting to get there, but it's very, very challenging for some of them.
Okay, and again, early voting ends Friday. We've got a full day on May 24th, which is Tuesday, Election Day. Y'all will be in all of those 18 places for 12 hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Hopefully, everybody will get there and be in line and vote before 7.
There you go.
But there is a process in place for those that are still in line, I guess.
Right. Anybody that is in line at 7 p.m. is actually qualified to be able to process and be able to vote. And that's what's great about our county-wide. You're no longer in the wrong precinct and have to try to make it anywhere. So anywhere that you're in line at 7 p.m., you get to vote.
You can still vote. Okay. And then there are 6 people in Tom Green County who are going to be biting their nails, or 8, I guess, wanting to know what the results are. And so that process, again, is important. Let's walk me through that election night process after 7 o'clock. What happens?
We try to have the early voting, and if possible, the absentee is early, as close to 7 as we can to get those. And we always, if anybody's on site, we provide a copy of the results when they're printed. And for everybody else that's trying to watch, we post them on our webpage. We're having to do that a little bit more remotely. I don't have somebody on site that's doing it, so I'm having to get them to them, and they're having to post them, which kudos to them for working that through. But we do post them on the internet as soon as we can.
Okay, so we're going to get the results out as soon as we humanly can, and as accurate as we can. And that's something that I want to commend you for, because you've been in that office for quite some time, and every time that this issue has come up, you have stuck to your guns and said the same thing. You're going to be right. You're going to get it right.
Yeah.
And when those results do come out, they'll be accurate, and they have been, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What else? We were going to talk about Gary Jenkins a little bit. He's indicated, and he's following through that process of running as an independent for county judge in Tom Green County. We haven't seen anything like this in my memory.
Yeah, it's been mine either. But he's doing everything right. He's checking all the boxes. He had to come in. It's crazy because he had to file his declaration of intent to run at the same time as everybody that was getting on the primary ballot. So he knew way back in December what his plans were and to move forward with that. His challenge, if you will, is he's got to collect a petition. He's got to collect some signatures on a petition, and he has to wait until the primary runoff election is said and done, which the election is May 24th, but we have the late ballot board coming in to process late military and process anybody that's curing their ballot by mails and so forth. So it'll probably be closer to June 1 before we have everything wrapped up for that primary runoff election. And then he can begin collecting signatures from people that did not vote in either the primary or the primary runoff, because they're affiliating with the party. And if you affiliate with the party, you can't sign his petitions. So.
And they have to be registered voters too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
This has become a very narrow group of folks that he can get on his signatures, and a very narrow amount of time.
Yeah, for sure.
To get those up in a very historic, what I've considered to be a historic attempt to make the ballot in November.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to watch.
It will. I wish him luck. I wish all the candidates luck. It's not easy to run for office.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work and a lot of challenges for anybody. So I admire everybody that steps up and puts himself out there as a candidate.
And the other thing is these local candidates will be sworn in on January 1st, the winners of the November election.
Right.
Sworn in January 1st of 23, and 10 days later the legislature's going to meet. And they're going to do two things. They're going to look at property tax relief, and they're going to look at election integrity again. And that's it was in the last legislative session, there was a big push for election integrity, and they got that legislation passed, and that's why you have all the changes that people are going through. But we talked with Drew Darby on election night, and asked him about that, and I asked him specifically, does that all that legislation need to be tweaked a little bit? And he said, absolutely. So the boys in Austin are going to take another look at that. And
yeah, in fact, the election committee had a hearing, I think it was last week sometime, and there was a lot of discussion about some of the things that seem to be working, some of the things that don't seem to be working. Ballot by mail has certainly been a challenge in our county. I don't know about other counties, but I heard some discussion about things they might change, allowing the voters to cure their ballot by mail through the mail instead of having to come in person, for example. That was one of I didn't get to listen to all of it, unfortunately. And I hope that the voters will give feedback to them and let them know what they found that worked and what they found that didn't work. We get mixed reactions on everything on the paper trails. We get mixed reactions on the ballot by mail. So I know that they're striving to give voters confidence in the process. Unfortunately, I'm not sure they've completely satisfied everything, because I'm still hearing some people that, that's not expected. The paper, they thought they were going to get to take the paper with them.
Right.
That kind of thing. So, I appreciate they're working on it. I wish there was an opportunity they could come work in the office and kind of see what else is going on. So we'll wait and see what happens.
Well, that sounds great, and it seems like you have a full-time job, and there's always something going on in the elections office, so we appreciate what you do, and we thank you for stopping by today, Vonna. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And we will be back right after this.
All right, our very own Yanis Green,
That's right.
always just asking the good stuff. Vonna Hudson, just So intelligent at her job, so good at her job, very thorough.
She's been there a long time. She knows what she's doing, and she went through that horrendous change that after the legislature got through fixing election integrity, and elections administrators across the state were like, what do we do? And this is, to her credit, the elections have gone very smoothly under this new paper plastic process.
The supermarket way of voting here.
Yeah.
All right. Nonetheless, we do have a number of guests to get to tonight, including the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend that is Pastor Gary Jenkins. He is an independent candidate running for Tom Green County Judge. If he can collect 500 signatures, for him, it's not a matter of if, but when he can collect 500 signatures after tonight's runoff election. He is ready to go. We'll get to him in just a bit, but before we do so, let's rap a little bit about these two county judge candidates right now. Lane Carter, Todd Coles. These guys just running all together at this point here. Right now, if you can, go ahead and bring us up on the full screen here, because we can see this is right now after the third drop. Following the third drop, it is Lane Carter leading Todd Coles 53% to 47%. 1,544 total votes there for Mr. Carter, 1,379 total votes for Todd Coles. Yantis, your thoughts on this so far?
Well, this again, the turnout's light, so the numbers aren't spectacular, but it looks like Lane Carter has a decent lead, including early voting, mail-in ballots, and that first bump of election day. 53%, 47%, not by any means is this over. Mr. Coles at 47%. This, again, is in the Republican primary. Mm-hmm. And there were no Democrat candidates, so whichever one of these guys winds up with the most votes, official votes, when they're counted by the party later on, will possibly face Mr. Jenkins in November in the general election. And he's the party process is the primary way of getting Republicans and Democrats through the party to the general election, and the independent avenue is much different and much unique. We haven't seen anything like this in a long time, and so it's a process we're not really familiar with, and we're going to learn a lot.
Is this unprecedented? I mean, are we treading in that arena there?
You know, Vanna and I talked about that yesterday or earlier this week, and yes, we were trying to think of someone who ran as an independent, and it has been, between the two of us, we've been here for decades, and we haven't seen an independent candidate for a county office try to make the ballot.
Wow.
So this, in a sense, is historic.
Yeah, very much so. All right. So before we bring on Mr. Gary Jenkins, let's kind of run through a few of these sound bites from Mr. Lane Carter and Todd Coles, because these guys had an interesting time throughout our forum. In fact, our very own Janice Green gave Lane Carter an opportunity to ask Mr. Todd Coles a question during the forum, and, well, I mean, he did.
Anything you want to ask Todd?
The job requirements, the job description of the county judge has two sides,
Okay.
administrative and judicial. Administrative heavily on budget and emergency management. On the judicial side, you'll see will probates, mental health cases, drug courts. Can you elaborate on each of those and experience of how you have done that in the past?
Sure. So on the administrative side, I run a business on a daily basis. Being a custom jeweler, you handle assets, you handle budgets on not just a daily basis, but a customer by customer basis, and that's what I do on a daily. Being president, vice president, and serving on the City of San Angelo Development Corporation for 6 years, I learned the budgetary process through taking in tax revenues and turning those tax revenues around and putting them back to work, following under the guise of what we can and cannot do per state statutes. So that is the experience I have with the administration side of it. Emergency management, just an emergency manager as far as running my business. We have constant things that come up, and we have to remain calm. And my employees will tell you the one thing that I live by is communication. We have to communicate. We have to constantly be in communication with each other. And that is what emergency management is all about, making sure that the proper people have what they need when they need, and it is funded properly. Not at that very time, but that the funds are sitting there waiting for any emergency comes up. Something else I'll speak to emergency management is I want to work with other counties around us, other counties in the state, because I want to learn from their emergencies or their mistakes or what happened there so that we don't have to learn from our own emergencies or our own mistakes. And so I want to set up a coordinating council between all of those counties, come together, I don't know, every quarter, twice a year or something, and say, okay, Corpus, whenever you had something going on, what happened? What did y'all do different? And so emergency management is about being creative. It's about knowing how to manage people and personalities, and it's knowing how to make sure that the budgets are there, ready and willing and available. What was the other part? I'm sorry.
Judicial experience.
Oh, the judicial side. So what I've learned about the judicial side is really cool. The judicial side of this job is common sense solutions. You are taking, in a lot of places, you're taking the rights away from an individual. I want y'all to think about that for a minute, because not many people on this planet have the ability to take somebody's rights away, okay? But the county judge, they do. And so you have to be common sense oriented. You have to understand why that might need to happen, who is fighting for it, who's fighting against it. You have to sit there and you have to disseminate all of that information. And it's fascinating, the few cases that I've read. It truly is fascinating. One of them was a business owner here in town was in the hospital with COVID and was on a respirator. And the business was set up as such where he was the only one that could do payroll. And so the wife had to try to come in and step in with the business manager and a few other people. They had to come step into that role. And that is where you have to take all of the information, because you're literally stripping the rights away from somebody so that someone else can do what they're supposed to do legally. And, you know, that was put on a 30-day. So for 30 days, that's how it went. And in 30 more days, if it still has to go, then we'll do another 30 days. I mean, it was just so neat to see how the government and how the system can take care of its citizens in that way. And it was nothing more than common sense. It was nothing more than understanding problems, issues, business management, and all of the things that I have experience with.
Okay. All righty, so Mr. Todd Coles sounding off there. You were moderating that. We had talked about that. Following, now that you've kind of had some time to digest that, what did you what were your thoughts coming away from that?
Well, watching that clip, I was reminded, it seems like that was a year ago, but it wasn't. It was just earlier this year. And I'd really forgotten how really detailed these guys are and how articulate both of these guys were, and how much they both really, really, really want this job. Yep. And that showed with Todd Coles right there. And of course, Lane is you'll see him in just a second.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Lane Carter, he's a former San Angelo City councilman. The tale of the tape on him, he'll tell you he has plenty of experience in budgets. I believe he was through multiple budget cycles there as a member of the San Angelo City Council. The guy runs his own business. He started running his own business since a very young age. Yeah. So he's kind of had some reps at that particular thing.
Right. And as a city councilman for 5 years, you go through 5 budget sessions, and I can tell you as a former commissioner that's the toughest thing you do. So there's some experience there that matters. And I think that you'll see that in his answer here in just a sec.
Yeah. All right. Without further ado, Lane Carter on his description of his budget experience.
I'm looking forward to addressing the issues that we hear the constituents, our civil servants, talking about on a daily basis. We have workforce problems here in the county. We have that throughout the state. We have pay issues through this county. And retention rates, we have that through the state. I've seen six budget cycles over my last 5.5 years at the city council, and we had the issues of working through pay, working through retention. We address those through our PD, through our fire department. That was a pleasure to do so because I advocated very heavily for our civil servants. I'm looking forward to prioritizing issues like that, looking for more revenue streams, whether that be through grant funding or through partnerships. The last few segments, you talked a little bit about partnerships through the county and the city. I believe the county and the city seeing the same issue.
All right, experiencing just a few technical difficulties in that, but we are addressing those here. We'll address those momentarily. In the meantime, we do have Mr. Gary Jenkins joining us. He is the independent candidate for Tom Green County Judge and Pastor Jenkins, shall we say here.
Just call me Gary.
It's a pleasure to have you on because, you know, our conversations that we've had in the past, I mean, you were a member of the military here in the United States a few moons ago. We won't say many moons, but you have a passion for leadership. And I guess with that said, you're the sole independent candidate. This is, I mean, you're making history doing this for the first time in a long time. Tell us why you decided to run.
I decided to run after much prayer, Manny, and I always believe in seeking God for any decision that we're about to make, because you know you can't go wrong with prayer. But I wanted to serve our community. All of my adult life, I have been in service to our country as a Marine Corps Scout sniper, as a member of the White House staff back during the Nixon administration, worked with the governor of the state of Connecticut, worked with the mayor of the city of New Haven, worked in Homeland Security. So I wanted to take all of that experience and bring it to Tom Green County because this is my county. I live here. This is my home. I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
And we just wanted to do something to continue our legacy of community service.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I did want to. We haven't talked much, but I've seen you around in these forums and stuff, and I see you at the city council quite a bit.
yes, sir.
And I just have to say this. You know, David played a secret chord to please the Lord. And I think you've got that on speed dial, brother. I tell you.
Well, you called me the holy man of San Angelo.
Yeah, that's right.
So I love that title. I'm going to run with that.
We are glad you're here, and we're glad you pray for us, and you have that conduit to take care of some of us who might stray from time to time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know, so I guess let's talk about this. We say, you know, if you can achieve 5, because after tonight, in order to get your name on the ballot in November, you have to achieve 500 signatures to gain 500 signatures for people that have not voted in the primary election or in this runoff election just to get to this. But you say it's a matter of when.
It's a matter of when, because I don't believe in ifs. I don't believe in guessing. I'm a man of faith. And I love people, and I believe that God will help me to connect with others who want to see something different.
Okay.
And I've run into so many people who want to see a change in a positive way. I'm not saying the other candidates aren't positive, because they are. I think all of our candidates are great people, and I dare not cast aspersion in any way. We're not gonna play that way. But to get 500 names, we started out, as you know, the way the election laws are in the state of Texas. Any independent candidate, if you're not a Republican or a Democrat, you cannot really begin to campaign and get your name out there until after the Republican and Democratic primaries are over.
Right.
That takes place now.
Right.
So starting tomorrow, we're coming out of the gate. We're busting out of the gate with our team, and we're going to go and get those signatures that we need. We have done preliminary checks to see who would be willing to sign, and we've got quite a few people that are willing to sign. And I'm amazed that there still are so many people who did not participate in the Republican and the Democratic primary. Well, for the Democrats didn't even have a candidate, so to have so many people who are in the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, who did not participate in the primary, I'm amazed at that.
Yeah,
That's an indicator that people want change.
I'm amazed at those numbers too, and it happens at every election. And every candidate that I've talked to, we've had that discussion, and it's particularly in the runoff. It's been, how do you get people to the polls? What do you do to get people to the polls? And I haven't come up with a satisfactory answer to that.
Well, you got to do something, Yentis. You have to do something that draws people's attention.
Okay.
You've got to give them flavor. You've got to give them something exciting.
Yep.
And that's where I come in.
Definitely so. Definitely so. Well, these fine gentlemen, both of them are entrepreneurs here in town. And they said that, they bring their own flavor of what they're bringing to the table here. For the folks here that, imagine there's people that know about you because we can see your things around town. You're a very noticeable man here. You're a pastor of a church here. Why should someone, take a chance on you? What do you bring into the table as a candidate as a Tom Green County judge?
Well, I have a wealth of experience I have acquired over the last 35 years. Now, you talk about the other candidates, and they've got some good experiences as well. Mm-hmm. But when you want a candidate to be the chief elected official of the county, you want a candidate who has a wealth of information, that knows how government works, knows what public policy is, knows how to deal with emergency management operations. And I've done that. I've been an emergency management manager for FEMA for 5 years. I've worked with the President of the United States and the National Security Council on national policy, national security policies. I've served in many, many different capacities. Mm-hmm. I started off in the military in the United States Marine Corps, enlisted in 1969. I became a scout sniper in Vietnam and received the Purple Heart and the Cross of Gallantry for bravery. I'm a pit bull. Mm-hmm. And I survived that, and I am not afraid to take on the challenge of running as an independent candidate for Tom Green County Judge. I will bring a wealth of federal, state, and local government experience into Tom Green County. And I live here. This is my home now. So I want to give back to this wonderful community that we have here in Tom Green County. And it's not enough to stay inside the four walls of the church and preach a message. That's fine for Sunday. That's fine for Bible study, etc. Yeah. But you've got to practice what you preach. Mm-hmm. You've got to show the love, compassion, concern for others, mm-hmm. other than yourself. And this is a great opportunity to demonstrate my desire to do something that helps other people rather than myself.
Okay. Well, it's November's a long way, and I think this process, you have a limited amount of time, which is basically the month of June, to get those signatures, starting today.
Not even the whole month.
Yeah, you don't even have the whole month.
No.
But once you get that and it's certified by, I believe, the county judge.
Yes, Judge Fuller.
Then you're actually on the ballot, officially on the ballot. Mm-hmm. And then we've got from then until November 8th. To get to see how this campaign works out. So one of these guys, either Todd or Lane, will be joining you on the campaign trail yet again.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely. Well, Pastor Gary Jenkins, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. Where can constituents, where can potential voters, people to sign off on for you to get their signature?
I'm glad you asked that question.
Where can they find information about you?
Okay, you can go to our website at www.GaryJenkins for Tom Green County Judge.com, and you can call us at area code 325-261-9391 for more information. If you'd like to sign our petition, we certainly would love to have as many people come and sign the petition, as long as you haven't voted in the primary or the runoffs.
That's it.
But please, ma'am or sir, we would be honored to have your support, and we will do everything in our power to provide the best service to this county as possible, because I believe that whatever we do, we should do it to the best of our ability as unto the Lord.
Yep. It's a very, very good way to put that. All right. Mr. Gary Jenkins, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Manny.
Best
Thank
of
you.
luck
Yes,
we appreciate you
in
being
obtaining 500 signatures.
Yes, well, we need your help, so call us, watch our website, come on out and let us know that you'd like to help us, because I believe that there are many people that want to see a different change in the county of Tom Green.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, Mr. Gary Jenkins mentioned some flavor. We're going to give you that with one of his very own political ads, and these are good. We'll just leave it at that.
We got to give him our theme song.
Take it away, Tremel.
When you need someone to be there and a judge who really cares, vote Gary Jenkins. Gary Jenkins, Tom Green County Judge.
If we want to include the people we serve, how are we going to have a meeting or hearing at 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning when people are at work? We need to reverse it. Do it at 6 o'clock in the evening, so most of the people at least can come. Amen. I want to take action to eliminate human and drug trafficking in Tom Green County.
Amen.
I want to eliminate it.
Vote Gary Jenkins, Gary Jenkins, Tom Green County Judge.
Since 1994, Angelo Bolt has been the leader in San Angelo and the Concho Valley for industrial fasteners, tools, and supplies. With our extensive inventory, we will most likely have what you need for any commercial or personal job. Our knowledgeable staff has many years of experience to assist you in finding the tool or fasteners you need. At Angelo Bolt, customer service is our top priority. Come see us today at 808 Warehouse Road or call 655-0075. All right, Gary Jenkins, I tell you, such an, knowledgeable guy, entertaining guy, the only independent candidate he's not on the ballot yet.
He's
got to
not
get
on the ballot yet, but he's very confident that he's going to get there.
Yep.
And, if you look the guy in the eye and listen to what he says, you got to believe him. You got to take his word for it. Yep. So that's an interesting way and a historic way to get to the county judgeship, and it will be fun to watch between now and November. Definitely.
All right. Well, speaking of the Tom Green County judge race, let's go ahead and get to the full screen of this here. And right now, it is this is a very, very tight race. Lane Carter leading with 51% to Todd Coles' 48%. This is the fourth drop that we're seeing tonight. So these are updated results. As you can see, it is Lane Carter leading with 2,169 votes to Todd Coles' 2,007 total votes, 51% to 48%. Yanis, this is very close, far from over, so to speak.
162 votes. If you're looking at over 4,000, we're getting close to all of the votes cast. This is going to come down to, it is going to be very, very close, and it should be. These guys are quality candidates, and we got to know them along the campaign trail. They're very serious about where they stand, very confident in what they want to do, and I've said more than once that the voters will get it right. Yep. And it's up to the voters, and this is not over yet.
Definitely. All right, we did have some technical difficulties with a Lane Carter soundbite just earlier, but in fact, we're going to re-rack that, bring it to you one more time, because Lane Carter, this guy, you talk about polished, you talk about, a guy that's coming in with experience. He is bringing that to the table, having served on the San Angelo City Council. Yanis, I know you speak very good of him.
Well, he is. He's the veteran. I mean, he's the guy who's been elected and served on the council, and certainly throughout this process, we've watched him grow as a young man and as a candidate. And the whole process changes every candidate, but he seemed to get better and better. as the time went on, and this clip is one of those instances where you can see that.
Definitely so. With that said, let's go and check out the experience of Mr. Lane Carter.
I'm looking forward to addressing the issues that we hear the constituents, our civil servants, talking about on a daily basis. We have workforce problems here in the county. We have that throughout the state. We have pay issues through this county, and retention rates. We have that through the state. I've seen six budget cycles over my last 5.5 years at the city council, and we had the issues of working through pay, working through retention. We address those through our PD, through our fire department. That was a pleasure to do so because I advocated very heavily for our civil servants. I'm looking forward to prioritizing issues like that, looking for more revenue streams, whether that be through grant funding or through partnerships. The last few segments, you talked a little bit about partnerships through the county and the city. I believe the county and the city, seeing the same issues, can partner in more realms. That way, our tax dollars on both the city and the county.
Alrighty, so here we are. Let's get to the race between Tom. There we are. All right, so let's get to the race of Tom Green County Judge between Lane Carter and Todd Coles. And we see here Mr. Lane Carter leading at 51% to Todd Coles' 48%. 2,169 votes for Mr. Lane Carter, 2,007 votes for Mr. Todd Coles. This thing, as Yanis said, this is getting tight, getting down to the wire here. Let's run through some of these other races here. Trimble, let's keep it on the full screen here, if you can. More from this, the Tom Green County Commissioner Precinct 4, Bill Ford, Sean Nanny. It appears Sean Nanny is still leading in this one, 60% to 40%. We're actually going to swip those total votes there. 745 for Sean Nanny, 483 for Bill Ford. Keep it going here. Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3, Ron Perry v. Stacy Speck. And right now, it is 58% for Stacy Speck to Ron Perry's 42%, 523 total votes for Ms. Speck, 378 for Mr. Perry. So this one, I'm not going to say Stacy Speck's pulling away, but I mean, she is certainly, I guess, making her presence, the voters are making her presence felt here in that particular race. More statewide results, George P. Bush versus the incumbent Ken Paxton for Texas Attorney General. This one, still pretty close. I mean, I'd like to see if we can get some updated results at some point. 52% to 48%, Ken Paxton, the incumbent. We'll hear from George P. Bush coming up later in the program. More results here. Commissioner of the General Land Office, Don Buckingham versus Tim Wesley. Don Buckingham just running away with this thing tonight, 61% to 39%. We'll hear from Dr. Don Buckingham coming up later tonight. Wayne Christian, Sarah Stogner for Railroad Commissioner of Texas. And wow, this one appears to be very, very one-sided. Wayne Christian leading Sarah Stogner 67% to 33% in that particular race. All right, this is Precinct Chair 215 of the Republican Party. Beth Urick v. Steve W. Hampton, and Mr. Hampton leading Beth Urick 54% to 46%. All right, so for all of the updated results, you can check it out at www.sanangelolive.com. We will have it right there on the homepage. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we will have more election results tonight. Do we have that opportunity to go to a commercial break real quick, Trimble? Okay, all right. We will join Yantis at the desk, and we will figure the rest out. Let's go back to Yantis at the desk.
Well, it's been an interesting night. We will see how these races turn out. It looks like things are going well down at the elections office. Those results are coming in on a pretty regular basis. And right now, it looks like for Precinct 215, for the precinct chair in the Republican Party, that Mr. Hampton is leading Beth Urick by 10 votes. That's in that particular precinct, so there's not a lot of votes there. That, in fact, that may be all of them. I have no way of knowing that. but we certainly won't call that one until we know for sure if there's another box out there. Right now, again, the Lane Carter's leading, and it looks like Sean Nanny is leading, and Stacy Speck are leading in those three primary races. A little bit left to go, and we've got some interesting stuff coming up.
Yeah, definitely so. We're going to step aside, take a quick commercial break, hear a word from our sponsor tonight. But when we come back, we will talk a little bit more about the Precinct 4 commissioners for that particular
Tom Green,
race
yeah.
for Tom Green County. We'll be joined by Mr. Sean Nanny in studio right here. So stick around. We'll be right back. Since 1994, Angelo Bolt has been the leader in San Angelo and the Concho Valley for industrial fasteners, tools, and supplies. With our extensive inventory, we will most likely have what you need for any commercial or personal job. Our knowledgeable staff has many years of experience to assist you in finding the tool or fasteners you need. At Angelo Bolt, customer service is our top priority. Come see us today at 808 Warehouse Road or call 655-0075. Since 1994, Angelo Bolt has been the leader in San Angelo and the Concho Valley for industrial fasteners, tools, and supplies. With our extensive inventory, we will most likely have what you need for any commercial or personal job. Our knowledgeable staff has many years of experience to assist you in finding the tool or fasteners you need. At Angelo Bolt, customer service is our top priority. Come see us today at 808 Warehouse Road or call 655-0075. Alrighty, welcome back. Thank you so much to Angelo Bolt and Industrial Supply for being our proud sponsor of tonight's special edition, election edition of Live right here on SanAngeloLive.com. Joined by Mr. Sean Nanny, candidate for Tom Green County Commissioner Precinct 4. Right now, Mr. Nanny, how you feeling? You're leading 60% to 40% over the incumbent, Mr. Bill Ford.
I feel good now, but it's not over yet.
It's not over, yes. That's indeed. In fact, let's go to the full screen of this if we can. We'll kind of just break this thing down with Sean here because this one, this is after what, 4 boxes, Bellini? Fifth box. Okay, so we have 5 boxes that are in, including early voting. And, right now, 903 votes for Mr. Sean Nanny, 607 total votes for Mr. Bill Ford, the incumbent, which once we do the math, 60% to 40% there. Sean, I guess, what's this second phase of the campaign season been like for you, taking on the incumbent that is Mr. Bill Ford?
Well, it started out, the incumbent had 5 opponents. And like I've said 100 times, that speaks volumes. So, you can't assume that everyone that voted against the incumbent would get in your camp. So we've had to keep fighting, keep getting the word out. Man, I want to thank everybody that donated monetarily, made phone calls, knocked on doors, talked me up at the coffee shop, you name it. I mean, it took everybody, and I consider this a victory, not for me, but for the Precinct 4 as a whole.
Definitely.
If at the end of the night it is a victory, but to where I am now, I consider it the help of a lot of people in Precinct 4.
Door knocking is no joke, and I think for those people that have done that, there's a huge pat on the back that goes to those kind of folks.
Yes, absolutely. And I gotta give credit to my buddy River Subia.
I love me some River.
Yeah, he's worked his tail off.
Yeah, yes, he has. I think during the rodeo, he was probably your biggest cheerleader, your biggest fan. He would have, your campaign signs on the side of his truck.
That's right.
And and he just always spoke. So, in fact, he had sent me an endorsement letter that he'd endorsed you because River. People say what you want about River Zubia. I love River Zubia, but people know who that kid is.
Oh yeah,
here
he
in
knows
town.
everybody.
So, yes. It's like, who doesn't know River Zubia? So, in the meantime, 60-40 right now is what we're looking at in the polls. It's 903 votes for Mr. Sean Nanny that's joining us right now here in studio. And, we do have a few sound bites to get to. In fact, we'll get to the incumbent, Mr. Bill Ford, because a lot of people, there was 5 challengers for him in this particular campaign. And when he talked about change, well, he shed some light in the last forum that we hosted at the Tom Green County Library. Trammell, roll that tape for us.
I was really surprised to see 5 people lined up to get my job, but I haven't found one of them tell me anything I'm doing wrong with what I've been doing for 10 years. They just say they want change. Well, I got some change in my pocket, but that's not the kind of change that's going to help this county. It's just hard work, experience and hard work. And then also the kind of experience it's going to take to lead the new judges into, it's not just our county judge, we've got new leadership throughout the county that's going to be needing insight and vision, energy, all these things that I've been doing for several years.
I tell you, that was probably the soundbite of the entire campaign season. I got some change in my pocket. That's, I mean, we're not here to smear your opponent here, but when you hear that live at that point, what's kind of circulating through your mind there?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I kind of thought it was a smart aleck comment.
Yeah, say what you will about it.
That sums it up. Like we talked about, when 5 people are thinking, hey, I need to take over and do something, put this precinct on the right path. And he did say one thing. We do need hard work in our leadership of Precinct 4, but we weren't having it up till then. There's been a lot done lately. I feel like I've already made some change down there.
Yeah, and you're not even in
That's
office.
That's right.
Definitely so. With that said, you were a part of this. Y'all had an opportunity to kind of talk a lot about different things. Mr. Gaines Green moderated that. We do have one soundbite from Mr. Sean Nanny here, and I tell you, bringing some ideas to the table, to say the least. Trim will roll the tape.
Well, as we've talked about tonight, times are changing. Our population's exploding. Our infrastructure's changing. The value of our hard-earned dollar has definitely changed. Our county is going to have a change in leadership of a new judge. And with your support, so will Precinct 4 have change in leadership as commissioner. And it's time for that change. And I know my fellow residents of Precinct 4 welcome that change. In the primary, there were 5 opponents against the incumbent. I think that speaks volumes. And I almost feel like I have facilitated a change already. I mean, there's brush being cleared along the road out in my neck of the woods, in my part of the precinct. I don't remember that being done since Mr. Ford's been in office. What other changes and obstacles lie ahead, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. And I'm not going to sit here and look you in the eye and tell you that I've got all the answers and all the solutions to the problems, because I do not. But what I will tell you is I will work my tail off for you. I will find the answers. I will work every day to be a better commissioner than I was the day before. I will listen to you. I will work for you. And I will make you proud of what we can accomplish together. I have the aptitude and the sense of commitment to have a positive impact on Precinct 4, and I would certainly appreciate your vote. Thank you.
All right.
I think the biggest takeaway from that is how just brutally honest you were with the people there at the library for our forum that we hosted, moderated by Gaines Green. Walking away from that particular forum, because I know you've had a lot of different forums that you've spoke at. What were your feelings following that particular one, having kind of seen and heard what Mr. Ford had said, and then and then kind of just having that one-on-one with the crowd there?
Well, I don't know how to drive this point home any harder. I cannot be fake. If I tell you something, I'm going to do it, or I'm going to go down bloody and beaten trying to accomplish it. Mm-hmm. And I need at one forum back in the primary, I caught myself listening to some of my opponents, and I kind of zoned out I thought, man, I really think these people are just saying what they think the audience wants to hear. And I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be associated with that. I'm going to tell you what I feel in my heart. Hopefully you like it. Right. If not, I hate to say it, but don't vote for me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to dig down deep and give you everything I can, and I hope the majority of the people like it. And if not, they need to vote for somebody else, but I'm going to do everything I can to accommodate everybody in my precinct. I know that's impossible to make everybody happy. But at the end of the day, I hope the majority of them like what I'm doing and always know that I'll be real. They can contact me. I will listen to them. And I am what I am. I can't be anything else. And I won't be anything else. I refuse to.
Yeah. Fantastic way to put it there. We've, and we've heard a lot of the, well, I guess let's take a step back. So during the rodeo, we heard from the rodeo announcer, Mr. Boyd Paul-Hamus, that there's some plans in place, or maybe some things to work out in terms of getting to expanding the Coliseum there to the tune of $25 million. Your thoughts on that? Because there appears to be only one person in this particular campaign between the Precinct 4 commissioners and the county judge candidates that agrees that maybe we should try to chew off something to the tune of $24 million. What do you think, as a candidate for County Commissioner Precinct 4, we should do about expansion of the Coliseum?
Well, I want to preface this with the fact that I'm, by large, a big fan of the rodeo.
Okay.
Always have been.
I think we
always
can all
will.
say that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The whole town, the whole Concho Valley is. There are too many unknowns for me. Mm-hmm. I hear this, I hear that, I hear this number, I hear that number. I have to have the facts, and I can't make an educated call without getting all the facts. And if it's one of those things where it's balancing out, you just got to go to the people and find out what they're wanting. Mm-hmm. But I'd love for us to grow and get a bigger Coliseum. But aren't there some other things we might need first?
Yeah.
That facility is getting used 3 weeks, 4 weeks out of the year right now. And I understand that when you build it, they will come, so to speak, and it will generate some revenue for the county, and the city and the county as will get some as well. But I got to have the numbers and the facts before I can make a call on that.
Yeah. That's honest opinion there. Let's see. Anything else? I know you've touched on, just being able to kind of talk about a lot of different things, talk about your issues, be brutally honest with people. Anything you'd like to add there for the people that voted for you? Maybe people who voted for Mr. Bill Ford, and what you're looking forward to, perhaps if elected as County Commissioner Precinct 4.
Well, I'm going to work for everybody in Precinct 4. The people that voted for me, I want to make them proud of casting a vote for me. The people that didn't vote for me, I want to earn their respect and their trust, because trust is a big issue, and I will never do anything to jeopardize that trust in me. And while we're talking about things, I'm thankful for two things tonight. Number one, that we live in a free country where we have the opportunity to choose our leaders. And more closer to home, I'm glad, I'm so thankful we got this rain tonight.
Yeah, most definitely.
And before I end, I've got to thank my wife, who stood by me through this whole deal. Any candidate that's ever ran for an office knows it's brutal. It takes a lot out of you. So I really applaud her for that.
Well, I think you had said in one of your interviews with Yanis is she dressed you. She makes sure that you.
Well, she makes sure I look half decent.
You had a nice jacket on. You had a nice shirt, and she's done a fantastic job. Dressed to the nines here tonight.
Make sure I don't have a dip in my mouth when I'm giving an interview.
See, that's just the cowboy in you, the country boy in you in there. So, nonetheless, let's see. We will let's take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we'll hear more from candidates around, as well as we'll take a look at some of the results from local and state races. We'll be right back. This is Election Night here on SanAngelLive.com. Since 1994, Angelo Bolt has been the leader in San Angelo and the Concho Valley for industrial fasteners, tools, and supplies. With our extensive inventory, we will most likely have what you need for any commercial or personal job. Our knowledgeable staff has many years of experience to assist you in finding the tool or fasteners you need. At Angelo Bolt, customer service is our top priority. Come see us today at 808 Warehouse Road or call 655-0075. All right, Mr. Sean Nanny, candidate for County Commissioner Precinct 4 here in the area, joining us. And I tell you, this guy always bringing the goods every time. You've had some fantastic conversations with him.
Oh yeah,
very
and,
bright guy.
You know, he has done such a stellar job for the Cristobal School Board there. You know, being on the as the president and serving on that board, and that's no easy task. He's a working guy and works in real estate as well, and you believe him when he says, "I'm going to tell you the truth." Mechanically, we were just talking that now's the easy part for if these numbers hold, it's going to be Sean Nanny. The easy part is now to January 1st.
Right.
Since there is no opponent in November, and on November 8th, this will be just more of a formality, but that is when the actual election is. And when you're the only guy on the ballot, then you win. And the reason I say January 1st is that's when these candidates will be sworn into office, and that's when the real work starts.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. He unlike the whoever prevails in the county judge race, doesn't even have the opportunity to have an independent candidate. So this one is done tonight, or at least when the votes are officially canvassed by the party.
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty, so we have, with that said, let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of the results from around Tom Green County as well as around the state of Texas, because things are apparently changing, or we might see here in the results here. Whenever Trammell, you are ready to go to full screen on that. Well, here we are. It appears that it is still very close in the Tom Green County judge race. You can see these results live on San Angelo, www.sanangelolive.com. Lane Carter leading 51% to Todd Coles' 48%, 2,727 votes in favor of the former San Angelo City Councilman, Todd Coles, with 2,453 total votes in that particular race there. Trammell, let's keep the good times going. In Precinct 4, it is Sean Nanny leading Bill Ford, the incumbent, 60% to 40%. Sean Nanny, 903 votes to Bill Ford, 607 total votes. Ron Perry, Stacy Speck in the Justice of the Peace Precinct 3 race. Right now, it appears Stacy Speck, she continues to pull away because that number, it was a little bit closer, but she has extended her lead now, 59% to 41%. I tell you, that particular race, let's go back to that one real quick, Trammell, because I tell you, in the primary, Ron Perry came out of nowhere. He was the true dark horse candidate, and we were just, our jaws were to the ground that night.
That's
on March
right,
1st.
and his hard work and his persistence and the length of time that he campaigned showed during the primary, and that's why there was a runoff.
Right,
was because of how hard that Ron Perry has worked, and that certainly paid off in the primary.
Definitely. Let's go back to the board there. Texas Attorney General George P. Bush v. Ken Paxton. And right now, Ken Paxton leading the way, 52% to 48%. We'll get you some updated results on that. In fact, we will visit with George P. Bush here in just a few moments. Don Buckingham, Tim Wesley, Commissioner, Land Commissioner here. That is George P. Bush's office. That was his office, if you will. Don Buckingham leading in that race, 61% to 39% there. More from the results category. Railroad Commissioner Wayne Christian continues to just pull away in this one over Sarah Stogner, 67%, 33%. And we can pretty much probably call that one almost done. And then Precinct 215 of the Republican Party, Precinct Chair Beth Urick v. Steve W. Hampton. Mr. Hampton, 54% to 46% there. All right, we have run through the results. We're going to continue to run through these results throughout the night. We're going to give you updated things as more boxes come in from the Tom Green County Elections Office there at the Ed B. Keys building in downtown San Angelo. In the meantime, Yanis, I'll let you toss to this one because George P. Bush, this guy, although his last name says so much, such a humble guy, to say the least.
Well, and also very smart. Both him and his wife are attorneys, and they met in law school. And she is actually from here, so he's got some local ties. We've talked on several occasions, and I've had conversations with his uncle and with his grandfather. I haven't talked to his dad. I haven't talked to Jeb Bush, but he served as a very savvy land commissioner, and now is attempting to become the Attorney General of Texas. We haven't seen statewide numbers. I know the numbers we're looking at are local, so but I think they may mirror what's going on with the state. This was a tough road. Ken Paxton is an establishment candidate, and he was certainly leading the last time I saw. Those two guys made this runoff, and we'll see how that shakes out as the night goes on.
Definitely. All right. So, and I guess it looks like we were previewed to some election results. Goodness gracious, that's not. We'll have to come back to that. But I believe it was Ken Paxton leading the way in that one. 67% to 32%. Ken Paxton, the incumbent. He is endorsed by Mr. Donald Trump, Mr. 45, I believe so.
Right. And George P. Bush is one of those guys that he's young, and he's held statewide office. This is by no means the last time we will see George P.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
And of course, the night's not over yet. If we want to, we can go to that video, Matt. Well, we are joined today in San Angelo Live by Land Commissioner and a candidate for Attorney General in the Republican runoff, George P. Bush. Mr. Bush, thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you. Thank you so much for having me back again.
Well, we miss you here in San Angelo and glad to see you every time you come through. Where are you this morning?
I'm actually in campaign headquarters. We just wrapped up our Texas Justice Tour throughout the state of Texas, 50 stops in the last 40 days. We wrapped up the week honoring our first responders in Brazos County in College Station area of Texas, and then worshiped in my grandfather's church in Houston at St. Martin's, which was an honor to be with so many of his friends and loved ones, including members of my family that joined us on Sunday. And so today I'm just visiting with the media, reminding voters to get back out there. Tomorrow's the last day to vote. Early voting wrapped up late last week. And so we're really excited about where we stand in this race.
What are you telling voters with one day left before they actually go to the polls?
Well, more than anything, since this is going to be a low voting turnout runoff, every vote will make a difference. And I just remind Republicans that we need to have the strongest football team on the field, somebody who's not out on criminal bonds, someone who's not under indictment, somebody who's going to bring West Texas values, Concho Valley values into the halls of power here in Austin. And I happen to be married to a beautiful San Angeloan, Amanda Williams Bush, who I remind my fellow Republicans, you're getting two lawyers for the price of one in this campaign. So you're getting a Concho Valley attorney, an advocate, a great red state Republican woman who's going to be right there with me in this important partnership to restore honor and integrity to the AG position.
Well, and we do appreciate that connection here to the Concho Valley. Those are good people. And politics is a contact sport, and that is no more evident than in your race. And Senator Cornyn recently made a comment. He basically said that your opponent's scandals are an embarrassment. That's a sort of a non-endorsement endorsement. How does that affect your campaign?
Well, I think he actually had the courage to say what a lot of conservatives and a lot of Republicans have told me all along in this campaign, that Ken Paxton is a crook and we need to go in a different direction, and it's too much of a risk to the Republican Party. You know, Senator Cornyn has a different perspective because he was our former Attorney General, and he understands that this is the top law enforcement position in the state of Texas. So you're at the top of the chain of command of the tens of thousands of police officers, first responders, National Guardsmen, DPS troopers, and they need to be able to look at the top of chain of command and have some level of respect and admiration. And regretfully, as an indicted felon in Texas, people forget You can't purchase a firearm. You can't serve on a jury. But most importantly, you can't wear the uniform of our law enforcement officials. And so I think Senator Cornyn's comment really goes to the heart of the matter, and that is that you cannot have somebody at the top of the chain of command who can't wear the uniform of those below him.
All right, Commissioner, let's talk about your vision for the Attorney General's office for the next 4 years. What specific things are you looking to improve and expand?
Well, we got a crisis on our southern border. And so on day one, I'm going to be forward deploying all available legal resources to prosecute illegal aliens under state criminal trespassing claims. I will draft an advisory opinion that gives the governor the flexibility to assert the state's sovereignty so that we can start enforcing laws as we see fit, whether that's state law or doing the job of the federal government, knowing that the Biden administration is going to ignore and flout his responsibilities under the U.S. Constitution. I'm going to work with farmers and ranchers in borderland areas to continue the construction of the Texas Wall, of which I have begun as land commissioner in Starr County. And I will work to overturn U.S. versus Arizona and other bad case law now that we have a different composition of our Supreme Court to help our law enforcement actually have the resources and the tools necessary to keep our communities safe. I'm the parent, the proud dad of 2 boys. I think about this fentanyl crisis that's occurring on our southern border, pouring across a state like Texas, where just last month, it's estimated that DEA and other honorable federal agencies seized enough fentanyl to overdose the entire population of our country. And it's now the largest cause of death among 18 to 45-year-olds. This is a crisis of epic proportions, and we need a new lawyer that's going to prioritize this crisis at the top of his agenda.
All right, this is the point in these interviews where I stand aside and don't ask any questions, and I just open the mic and say, George P. Bush, you have about 24 hours to convince voters to get out and vote, and also to vote for you. What is your message directly to them?
Well, I'm a Christian, a father, and a husband. Those are the most important titles that I will always have. It's been an honor to serve you as land commissioner the last 7 years, taking care of our military veterans, generating billions in revenues for public education through the defense legally of our oil and gas assets in the state of Texas, responding to Hurricane Harvey, and also working to protect our honorable traditions and history, including the day-to-day management of the Alamo. But now it's time for a change as it relates to our top lawyer, somebody who's going to lead the troops with command and respect. I come to you with experience in the Afghan combat zone as a member of the military, with also service in the Southern Command, which assesses the greatest threats to our nation's security, namely transnational organizations, bloody drug cartels, and gangs like MS-13. Just like Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men, you need me on that wall, you want me on that wall. I'm ready to do that for the people of Texas as the top law enforcement official, back our thin blue line and red line and first responders here in Texas, take on voting fraud and human trafficking, and do so with pride and restoring integrity to this important position. And your voice does matter. Tomorrow's the last day to vote. I'm asking for each and every one of you to be thoughtful, prayerful as to who we put on the field to beat the Democrats in the fall.
Great. That's George P. Bush, a candidate for Attorney General in the runoff, the GOP primary runoff. You'll have another chance in November. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us back here in San Angelo. Can't wait to see you back in the Concho Valley.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
All right, Mr. George P. Bush, running for Attorney General of Texas, and it's been kind of a tough night for him against the incumbent, Mr. Ken Paxton. We'll get to those results here in a few moments, but in the meantime, let's check out some of the local results here. 3 races in the runoff here in Tom Green County. Let's get to those, beginning with the Tom Green County judge race. Lane Carter, Todd Coles, as we can see right here, 51% to Mr. Lane Carter, 2,727 votes. To Todd Coles' 2,453 votes. Now, this is after 5 boxes. This is a runoff. We are looking into seeing how many boxes are remaining in this particular race. But as we see it now, it is Lane Carter leading Todd Coles 51% to 48% in the race for Tom Green County Judge. Moving along, Tom Green County Commissioner Precinct 4, Bill Ford v. Sean Nanny. And right now, Sean Nanny leading Bill Ford 60% to 40%, 903 total votes for Mr. Sean Nanny, 607 for the incumbent Bill Ford. And as we heard in the previous soundbite when Sean Nanny was joining us, 5 candidates decided to run against the incumbent Bill Ford. I don't know what that says. You know, we would like to remain neutral in whatever that may say, but I'll tell you, 5 candidates up against one, something they felt pretty passionate about what may or may not have been happening in that particular precinct. Moving along in the race for Tom Green County Justice of the Peace Precinct 3. Mind you, this is northern San Angelo, Water Valley, Grape Creek, Carlsbad, Ron Perry, Stacy, Speck. Ron Perry forced this whole thing with this runoff with Stacy Speck, the dark horse candidate from the March 1 primary. Right now, Ms. Stacy Speck leading 59% to Ron Perry's 41%, 823 votes for Ms. Speck, 568 votes for Mr. Ron Perry in that particular race. Moving along, that is the last local race in the Texas Attorney General. These are, mind you, these are Tom Green County results. The folks here in Tom Green County siding with Mr. Ken Paxton, 52% to George P. Bush's 48%. You see the San Angelo influence there, as Mr. George P. Bush said that his wife from San Angelo in the Concho Valley. In the General Land Commissioner here, Don Buckingham, Tim Wesley. Don Buckingham running away with this one, 61%, 39%. These are Tom Green County results. One more race, a few more races to get to. Railroad Commissioner, Wayne Christian, Sarah Stogner. Here in Tom Green County, folks siding with Wayne Christian, 67% to 33%. Moving along, one last one, Precinct Chair of the Republican Party, Precinct 215, Beth Urick, Steve W. Hampton, and it is Mr. Hampton leading Ms. Beth Urick in that particular race. All right, we have run down the results there for you. We've heard from one candidate on the ballot right now, Mr. Sean Nanny, one that's looking to get on the ballot in November, Mr. Gary Jenkins, Pastor Gary Jenkins. After tonight, his adventure is getting 500 signatures to petition his participation in the November election as an independent to challenge either Todd Coles or Lane Carter tonight for Tom Green County Judge. For any of these, you can look back at these interviews. Fantastic gentlemen there so far. All right. With all that said, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're talking Justice of the Peace Precinct 3 race right here in Tom Green County. Stick with us. This is Election Night right here on SanAngeloLive.com. Since 1994, Angelo Bolt has been the leader in San Angelo and the Concho Valley for industrial fasteners, tools, and supplies. With our extensive inventory, we will most likely have what you need for any commercial or personal job. Our knowledgeable staff has many years of experience to assist you in finding the tool or fasteners you need. At Angelo Bolt, customer service is our top priority. Come see us today at 808 Warehouse Road or call 655-0075. All right, welcome back to Live, the special edition of Live Election Night. This is the runoff. I felt like this is the fourth quarter, Yanis. I mean, we've been through the first quarter, second. I mean, we've been through the whole gauntlet here of this game that is the campaign season. Now it's time to just wrap this thing up, hoist the trophy. Somebody's hoisting something tonight.
That's right. We in a normal election cycle, the primary would have been it. Mm-hmm. But this time we had, of course, an open seat for county judge, and you had 4 candidates running there. And then we had the competition for 6 people running for county commissioner. Mm-hmm. We had 3 people running for justice of the peace that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But it just because of the runoffs, we stretched this election cycle out from March 1st to May 24th, and bless those candidates' hearts. I mean, that makes it expensive, and it makes it grueling, right. And it's just a tough road to have to go back to the same doors and the same people and say, please vote for me again. And then we threw a constitutional amendment election in there, asking voters to, oh, by the way, just come back one more time and vote again. And this is democracy is hard. And it should be. because we're picking the people out of the crowd to make decisions for us with our money, and it's no easy task. So it shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be a walk in the park. And the best of us should stand up and say, I want to do this. And you saw that. You saw people that got out of their comfort zones, that got into this, that have never been in politics before. And it was a rude awakening at first for, I think, every single one of them. And but what you've seen is the process, iron sharpens iron. And this process makes these candidates better. So I think the voters are going to get it right again. And it's just an arduous process, and we still got one more election to go, even though there's really no competition in November,
Right.
with the exception of the county judge race, maybe.
Now we were talking about with Gary Jenkins that it's been some time that we've seen an independent throw his name in the hat in the ring there. You've been a part of elections here in Tom Green County for a long time. When's the last time that you can remember seeing this many races go into a runoff? I mean, has this happened like this before in your lifetime here?
Not in my experience. Normally, we've since the mid '90s. And the takeover of Texas by the Republican Party, it's been very stable here. The secession has been very, very stable. There have been very few runoff elections because we haven't garnered that many candidates. I do want to say about the independent candidates, what the reality is these are partisan races. What we're talking about, these are people who are attached to parties, to the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. Now, there are what you could say are independent candidates in that they're the nonpartisan races for city council and school board, not just the San Angelo school board, but all the surrounding school boards. There are volunteer fire departments that have emergency districts, and there are water districts that have boards that are elected, and those guys and gals are also nonpartisan. It doesn't make them independent. It doesn't mean they're not associated with the party outside of that race. It just means that those particular elections are nonpartisan. Right. So your city council representatives are neither Democrats nor Republicans. They're not attached to a party officially, and neither are your school board trustees. Yeah. But in these countywide offices and statewide offices, they definitely are. Yeah, and
we've seen since October. I mean, since I guess you can go back to last summer, since a number of these candidates, said they were running for office.
I think maybe ties and suit jacket styles have changed since this election started. It feels like it's been so long, but it has been a long process, and this is the last party election. Mm-hmm. They're qualifying for the general election November 8th.
Definitely. All right. Well, let's keep this train going. Let's talk about the Tom Green County Justice of the Peace Precinct 3 race. In fact, Matt, if you'd like to bring us up to speed on the updated results between Stacy, Speck, and Mr. Ron Perry, and we've talked about this race just a little bit, Yanis, in terms that this is. It was surprising to see that Ron Perry campaigned so well back in March to force a runoff, but it appears now Stacy Speck flexing just a little bit more here in the runoff, leading 59% to 41% tonight.
Well, and for these two candidates in particular, this was a very difficult time because there were forums where this race was completely left out. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the opportunity to get in front of the voters other than through social media and right. making phone calls and knocking on doors. So it made it doubly hard for Stacy mm-hmm. Speck and for Ron Perry, and they are to be commended for sticking with it and smiling and nodding right. when they knew they were in a race as well, and they were excluded from forums that both local political organizations and also, let's just say it, the last Chamber of Commerce forum included the county judge candidates
Right.
and the commissioner precinct 4 candidates, and
Left out
excluded
JP3?
excluded the JPs. And I know that was that would have been a great opportunity for them to reach out to more voters.
But I tell you, in our forum, we made for damn sure to include them.
We
because
included
their
them.
voice certainly matters.
And they had a lively and spirited forum with us, and you got to see their personalities, and you got to see them interact, and I was impressed by how thorough and professional and dedicated and passionate both of them are.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, Trammell, which one are we going to go to first? All right. So without further ado, speaking of our particular forum and those two candidates, let's hear from Ron Perry in our last forum back in April.
I'll leave you with one thought, ladies and gentlemen. A justice of the peace must be fair and impartial in every case that comes before the court. Every case, whether it be civil or misdemeanor criminal, must be treated as such. Every case is different and therefore should be treated as such. Every case has different evidence and different things that must be satisfied to the court to make a fair and impartial judgment. On my flyers, there has always been 4 promises that I will make as your Justice of the Peace in Precinct 3. I will be fair. I will be impartial because I have not arrested anyone or thrown anyone in jail. I will be honest, and I will be conservative with your tax dollars. Thank you for coming tonight and allowing Stacy and I to give you our perspectives on the election. Thank you.
Well, as the kids say, shots fired. That was a direct shot at Miss Stacy Speck there. And, I think, if anything, you have to commend Ron Perry for having the stones to say that because, he needed, there needed to be something to be said because all he's really coming at was with experience. Stacy Speck comes with, or he says lifelong experience. Stacy Speck came in with judicial and law experience.
Law enforcement experience.
Law enforcement experience.
And that's very true. But you could see the passion there. Mm-hmm. But both of them, as a matter of fact, all of these candidates that got in the primary and then the ones that survived the primary and got into the runoff, they want this. And you could tell by listening to what he was saying, he has done his homework and he was ready for this and he wanted this job. And again, it's up to the voters. The voters, you got to trust them because that's how this constitutional republic works.
Yeah, absolutely right. All right, one last soundbite to get to in that particular race from Miss Stacy Speck. She had an opportunity to rebuttal. Yanis Green was there moderating the whole thing, and we were just kind of watching this from the back, and it was like, this is probably the most contested. There was the first one. It was the undercard there, but I tell you, they came out swinging. Stacy Speck had a few words of her own.
Should I be elected, I would bring stability to the courts because I intend to serve multiple terms. A new judge has to have 80 hours worth of training, and I am willing to stay as long as the good citizens of Tom Green County will vote me in. I would like everybody to realize that at the end of the day, it's not about who you've known the longest. It's about who is the most qualified and capable person to do the job. I believe I am the most qualified person to do this job for JP3. Sorry.
That's all right. That's okay. We're laid back. We're casual.
I'm asking for your vote on May 24th to be your next Justice of the Peace of Precinct 3. I'm Stacy Speck, and I thank you.
Yeah, that's it got a little heated there in their exchange.
Well, and you see the human side of them in that too. At that point of the night, I think we were all looking for some release of the tension, but that was good. It was good for the forum. It was good for voters to see that, for the people in the audience and the people that watch later, or watch live and watch later as well.
Yeah, most definitely. All righty. Well, we have kind of run down all 3 local races here in Tom Green County: Precinct 4 County Commissioner, Precinct 3 Justice of the Peace. and then Tom Green County Judge. We are hoping to hear from Lane Carter coming up later in the evening before our program is over and done with tonight. When we come back, we will kind of take a look at, we'd asked Sean Nanny about the rodeo and the expansion of the Coliseum, this $24-25 million project. We'll hear more from the candidates of County Judge and Commissioner Precinct 4 when we come back. Since 1994, Angelo Bolt has been the leader in San Angelo and the Concho Valley for industrial fasteners, tools, and supplies. With our extensive inventory, we will most likely have what you need for any commercial or personal job. Our knowledgeable staff has many years of experience to assist you in finding the tool or fasteners you need. At Angelo Bolt, customer service is our top priority. Come see us today at 808 Warehouse Road or call 655-0075. All right, Angelo Bolt, our proud presenting sponsor tonight of a special edition of Live Election Night, the Runoff election show here on SanAngeloLive.com. We've talked about a number of different topics. We've heard from two guests tonight, Mr. Gary Jenkins and Mr. Sean Nanny, who's running for Tom Green County Commissioner Precinct 4. Speaking of that particular race, along with the county judge, the candidates from those two races, they weighed in a previous forum. It was the last forum of the campaign season that was held by the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce. And, Walt Koenig asked a very good question about, the Coliseum expansion, their thoughts on that. And, three of them said, not quite ready to side with that yet, while one said, yeah, let's do it.
That's exactly right, and that came up. As Sean said, we love the rodeo and the Coliseum. It's a 70-year-old building, and we've been talking about. They have been talking about expansion, replacement, and that sort of came to a head during the rodeo when they brought out their models, and Boyd Polhemus made that announcement. It's still under advisement. Nothing is. They're not turning dirt out there yet because they haven't found a way to finance it yet.
Right.
And that's what this is about. We're talking about how do you finance it, and how do you finance an expansion of the Coliseum? And they're not even considering building a new Coliseum, which maybe the voters out there, the people of San Angelo and Tom Green County, would like to have a voice in that process, and they're not going to be given that voice. So the scope of the project has been set. It's going to be either we're going to rebuild what's there, or we're going to do nothing.
Right. And so I guess before we kind of get to that, and if you didn't have a chance to make it out to the rodeo, San Angelo Stock Show and Rodeo announcer Boyd Polhemus actually shed some light on that. And there's a model that was built that was
beautiful
explaining this. It looks great. In fact, let's go ahead and get to the soundbite featuring Mr. Boyd Polhemus.
We'll go from being able to seat 5,000 people to over 9,000 people all together, okay? Let me tell you something, everybody's gonna have skin in the game. The county, the city, the Rodeo Association will take all three of us, but it will also take you. And we wanted you to know that this is not a patch job. You wanna see a patch job? That's having to hang two video screens from the opposite ends of the arena instead of having a jumbotron with 4 screens in the center.
Well, the Rodeo Association somewhat drawing that thing up, and look at the plan there. It's beautiful. Nothing wrong with that. And, not saying that we're in favor of this or not in favor of this. We try to remain neutral in whatever we say or do here at San Angelo Live. But, this comes with a price tag, and we want to let both sides know. And I think we've done a pretty good job of allowing the audience of San Angelo, understand what's at stake here. And as you can see there, this thing was built in the 50s. It needs work. But the question is, how do you get to that point where you can raise that amount of money? Where does that money come from? That's truly the $1 million question.
Exactly. Where does the money come from? And it was thrown around, and even Boyd Polhemus said that the county was going to be one of the one of the entities that was going to be approached to funding that expansion of a city-owned facility, and there is a legal issue that exists right now that doesn't allow that to happen without action by both the city council and the county commissioners court. And that hasn't even been presented yet. So that's a story we'll be following down the road.
Definitely.
I do want to. We just heard that
Just about to get to that. You took the-
huge announcement. It looks like Todd Coles has conceded the race to Lane Carter. We understand that Mr. Coles has called Lane and congratulated him. We hope to talk to Lane Carter here in just a little bit live in the studio. It's been a hard-fought race, both fantastic, sterling individuals, and it was up to the voters, and the voters made their choice, it looks like, unofficially. But at this point, we have heard that Todd Coles has conceded the race to Lane Carter. So congratulations to Lane Carter. It has been a long road.
Yeah, and it appears so. If we kind of give you the breakdown of that, it was 52% Lane Carter to 47%, call it 48% Todd Coles, 3,243 votes going in the favor of Lane Carter, while there were 2,955 votes in the direction of Mr. Todd Coles. So this one is officially called, as Janice Green said. Man, this comes, I mean, these two guys, along with Joe Hyde and
Tommy
Ushery, campaigned their asses off to get to this point.
And they were all very passionate. They worked very hard, and the spread was not that great in the primary. They all had a really good base of support, and Lane and Todd just happened to get more votes than the other two. And it's been a long time since March 1st. But they both worked their hearts out. They both got their message out there. We gave them every opportunity, and other organizations did as well. I know that they both walked door to door, no telling how many doors they knocked on. There were signs everywhere. They spent money on advertising. This was a very passionate run, and those are quality guys. Got to know both of those guys better, and proud to say that we are a better community because both of those guys are here.
Well, at the moment, we can't say that Lane Carter is the Tom Green County judge because he's just only representing the Republican Party. Who knows what happens with Gary Jenkins?
Yeah, Gary Jenkins has to thread this needle and get those 500 signatures between tomorrow and it's about a 28-day window.
Less than a month.
And it's got to be voters who are registered, but who did not vote in the primary as a Democrat or a Republican and did not vote in the runoff as a Democrat or a Republican. Haven't cast a vote, but have been registered since December. So that is a narrow pool. But you heard Gary Jenkins. I mean, he is confident. He's ready. He's got a plan. So we'll see how that shakes out. That means that we still might have another election November 8th for county judge before the new judge is sworn in on January 1st. So it ain't over yet.
No, it's not. No, it's not. All right, let's get back to the talk of the San Angelo Coliseum.
Yeah.
We had heard Boyd Paulhamus kind of shed some light on that during the rodeo. But as we were talking about earlier, there were 3 of 4 candidates involving from the Precinct 4 County Commissioner race, Tom Green County race. Trammell, let's go ahead and get that footage ready because three of the 4 candidates said we're not ready for that just yet. One was ready to side with it already. In the meantime, I mean, this has been a grueling thing, and I know that although my days may be numbered here at San Angelo Live, but talk of the San Angelo Coliseum expanding, far from over. Let's hear what these fine gentlemen had to say about that.
I personally think it's a good idea. Paying for it is a different issue. It'd be great if we'd have it all done by private enterprise or private donations and instead of hitting the taxpayer. My biggest concern more has to do with we don't have a convention center that has a hotel attached to it, and that's why we lose a lot of our participation from other counties and other events.
If right now is the time, is that the best way to spend our revenue? And I'm not saying I'm against it. I love the idea of it, but I have a lot of questions that need to be answered before I can just pound my fist on the table and say, yep, this is how I stand. There's a lot of unanswered questions for me.
We have a $25 to $35 million renovation to our current Coliseum, and if you see the plans, you're impressed by them. New bathrooms, new concession stands, new skyboxes, new seating. We'll be able to sell more seats. We'll be able to, it's going to be such a huge thing for our community to be able to support that rodeo, not just for the 1 month of the year that it's here, concerts, everything else that we can use that for. It's going to open up a ton of events that we'll be able to get here. So I'm in favor. Funding is going to have to get creative. We're going to have to get very creative with the funding, but we need to work on it. We need to get it done.
What I would like to see first are the numbers of what we can bring in with civic events outside the stock show and rodeo. What concerts have been approached already, if any, to say, hey, we would have came here to San Angelo if you had a bigger spot. Right now, we haven't had that. Conversation's not happening. We only have 2,800 hotel beds here in this community. It's a 9,600, 9,500 seat facility that you're looking at general admissions. You would have to have 30% of that with the talks of how they're going to pay for it through a consumer fee or consumer tax booked continuously to help pay for that. So where's the money going to come from?
All right, so those were 3 of the 4 candidates siding with or not siding entirely with the expansion of the Coliseum, while Todd Coles was the lone ranger there that said, you know what, let's do it. But what he said at the very end of that was funding is going to have to be creative. To the tune of $24 million?
Yeah, and I applaud him for saying that, and I understand why. This is a city facility, and they're asking the county to help fund part of it. Mm-hmm. Imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine if the county judge went to the mayor of San Angelo and said, could you fund the county jail? Could you fund the Stevens Library? Could you fund rebuilding the Tom Green County Courthouse? It wouldn't even be considered. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of questions that have not been answered. I am giddy after looking at that mock-up. I mean, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and I want the rodeo to expand. I want it to grow, but I want it to do it the right way. And the city has the Economic Development Corporation and the half-cent sales tax and sales tax revenue and property tax revenue and other revenue sources, and they have many more revenue sources than the county. So that's a decision that will be made by other folks, and including probably the next county judge and the next county commissioner that are running right now. So. Yeah.
And the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce, I have to throw a courtesy to them in that particular video there, so thank you for that. Nonetheless, as we informed you earlier in the program, that Todd Coles has conceded his campaign and has informed Lane Carter that he is waving the white flag. But I tell you what, both of those gentlemen put together a fine campaign. Yep. Both of them put together great campaigns. Yeah, Todd Coles, fantastic. Lane Carter, fantastic. So, congratulations to Lane Carter as he moves to the third step, to the third level of this game that we call Tom Green County elections.
It truly is. It seems like there's one more level and then one more level and then one more level to go. Yeah. Hats off to Todd Coles and the way he has conducted himself through it all, and to watch his confidence grow. Mm-hmm. That guy has a bright future. Right. And I hope he is an asset to San Angelo and Tom Green County.
No doubt.
I hope we get the opportunity to see him again.
No doubt. And I think you and I, we had talked about that. I'm not sure if we shared, words about that on camera, but I think, when you touched on his confidence in our forum that we hosted, it was completely different, night and day. Yep. He seemed more prepped. He seemed more prepared. He seemed just ready to go. And I thought maybe he perhaps may have outperformed Lane Carter just a tad bit. But his campaign was great. Tonight we do congratulate Lane Carter, though.
Yep, and I've said before, and it's a cheesy quote, but the stars might lie, but the numbers never do. And the voters will get this right.
Indeed. All right, when we come back, we'll take an updated look at the local and state results. But first things first, a word from our sponsor tonight, Angelo Bolt. Since 1994, Angelo Bolt has been the leader in San Angelo and the Concho Valley for industrial fasteners, tools, and supplies. With our extensive inventory, we will most likely have what you need for any commercial or personal job. Our knowledgeable staff has many years of experience to assist you in finding the tool or fasteners you need. At Angelo Bolt, customer service is our top priority. Come see us today at 808 Warehouse Road or call 655-0075. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much to Angelo Bolt as our presenting sponsor tonight of our fantastic election coverage. We've brought you results. We've brought you guests. We hope to hear from Lane Carter at some point tonight. If not, we will definitely have him on our new news program called Live right here on SanAngeloLive.com. You can catch it daily, on Monday through Friday at 4 o'clock each and every day. All right, so we've had a chance to talk about the Coliseum. I know the Rodeo Association may not appreciate that. We love the rodeo. We do. We love it every year.
Really do.
We've had a chance to hear from a number of local candidates, one that's looking to get on the ballot. Of course, we heard from George P. Bush, who's challenging Ken Paxton in in that particular race there. But so as we move forward, there was one other one. It was Sarah Stogner. She is challenging Wayne Christian in that particular race for Railroad Commissioner of Texas. And Yanis, I know she came out of the gate swinging.
She did, and that was another one of those where there were 5 people in the primary, and it's a statewide race, and there was the name recognition was an issue, and you had a very strong incumbent in Wayne Christian, and for her to force a runoff was phenomenal. And she did it in a very unconventional way, and we talked about that risque video when she was in studio with us this week. But since making the runoff, she has taken on every issue that would come up to the Railroad Commission, and she is a 14-year attorney. She is a very bright person.
Yeah, in fact, we have video of that.
And very quick. TikTok. Yeah. And we can certainly see that video if we want to.
Yeah, we can probably just play it over the sound. But yeah, that was her. I mean, not afraid to just come out with a bang. But I think we shed some light about this. I don't think this is the last time that we've heard from her, that we'll see her.
Oh no, she is way too smart for that. New to politics, and as I said in our interview, there's a pecking order for those statewide offices. It's very difficult for anyone from the outside to break into a statewide office. But she is a very, very smart person, and I hope that we have her back in studio to talk about those issues, to talk about the oil field, because that's 1/3 of our economy in Texas, and there are some issues out there. Why are we having earthquakes in the Permian Basin? Why are we? What about flaring? What is that doing? There are just a number. There's some brine issues out there with wells that haven't been well recorded, and she's taking those issues head on, and like I said, we're far from hearing the end of Sarah Stogner.
Yeah. All right. Without further ado, Yanis Green had a chance to chat with Ms. Stogner. Let's go ahead and roll the tape there.
And we are here at the political desk on the last day before Election Day, and I am thrilled to have Sarah Stogner here. Sarah, you are a candidate for Tom Green County. I get so used to saying that. For Texas Railroad Commission, and in the GOP and the Republican runoff, which is tomorrow. You made that runoff, and we are glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is a lot of folks, don't know what the Railroad Commission does, and there are 3 statewide offices that are having runoffs in the Republican primary. Yours is one of them, and then there's Attorney General and
Land Commissioner.
Land Commissioner. Thank you. Yeah, Don Buckingham was here last week. How did we get here? How do we get to a runoff?
Yeah, look, I mean, we had 5 of us on the ballot March 1st, and my entire platform since the beginning was anybody but Wayne, right? I mean, the 4 people that challenged him were all oil and gas professionals, and it's time for change. And I think that he barely made it, right? We barely missed it, but he's been losing popularity, and I've been gaining popularity. So I feel really, really good going in tomorrow. We just need people to show up and vote tomorrow.
That's right, and I've watched politics for a while, and in the statewide races and for statewide offices, it's the Republicans have held every one of them since 1994, so it's been a long time, and there's sort of there's a pecking order. And there are people lined up to be the next railroad commissioner, to be the next attorney general, and that you come from outside that process, and you've risen so fast that now you are a contender for a statewide office in an unconventional way. Now, a lot of that was social media. So let's how did you get here?
Yeah, so I announced that I decided to run in early December, right? Got my paperwork in at the very last minute. January 1st, we had that geyser that sprung up in Crane. That was the visual, 150 feet up in the air. We were talking before we went on air, right? That in today's age, people are swiping, and if you don't catch their attention in the first couple of seconds, they're swiping on to something else. And so we started getting traction with that geyser because it was visually stunning. It looked like Old Faithful, except it's saltwater brine from oil and gas, not pretty clean geyser water, right? And then Super Bowl Sunday, I released my infamous, stunt video. And since then, I've just really been, the whole time, I've been going really hard to show up at Republican events where I can. I've been across the state. I've put 27,000 miles on my expedition since January, right? We've been in El Paso, we've been in McAllen, we've been in Amarillo, we've been in Texarkana, and everywhere in between. And I think what I'm seeing is people are tired of politicians not looking out for all Texans. And the incumbent, he's pay to play. He's a career-long politician. He's 70-something years old. Time to go retire, play some golf, and play with your grandbabies, right? I'm 37. I'm a lawyer. I live in the Permian, and I'm ready to fight for Texas.
Well, and I wanted to talk about that. You have pivoted to specific issues. And you know your stuff. Following statewide politics and to hear you talk about oil and gas, you've been an oil and gas attorney for 14 years?
Yes, sir.
And it seems like the issues that come up, you've got a solution for, and the determination to get that done.
Yeah, look, I don't have all the answers, but I've got a lot of questions, and thankfully, we've got a lot of great subject matter experts, right? I want to get in there. I want to help us stop having earthquakes. I want to help figure out our groundwater issues. I want to make sure that 1/3 of our economy is based on the oil and gas industry, right? If Texas was a standalone nation, we'd be the 3rd largest producer of oil and gas in the world. Yeah. We need to make sure that's with great responsibility, right? Comes, or with great, what is it? We've got a lot of responsibility. Yeah. And we have to do it the right way. And we can. We just need to enforce the regulations that are on the books so that the good operators that are out there that are working towards net zero, that are achieving great carbon capture things, right? No one wants to talk about all the great things that we've been doing in the oil and gas industry, but we have to do it the right way.
That's correct. And once you get past the primary, let's look ahead a little bit. There is a dynamic that exists in the Railroad Commission that is sort of unique to Texas and unique to politics in that there are 3 railroad commissioners. Wayne, of course, is the incumbent in this race, but you've also got Jim Wright, who is, I think, been there since 2020, and then Christy Craddock, who's been there since 2012. So the three, there's got to be a really good working relationship between those three commissioners.
Yeah, I think it's been too cozy, right? We've got 2 meetings every month that are supposed to be open to the public. And by law, they're not allowed to talk to each other outside of a public meeting.
Okay.
But you'll have an agenda with 400 items, and
Right.
they're in and out in 28 minutes. Well, there's no substantive discussion happening in that 28 minutes, right? That's a
Right.
dog and pony show.
Yeah.
And I want to get in there, and I want to look at the facts, let the subject matter experts do their jobs, right? Like, they've got administrative law judge, they have an entire adjudicatory process, and let's let those come through, and let's make sure that landowners, all stakeholders are included in the conversation, because these issues are too important to be behind closed doors when they impact all of us.
That's right. Now, this in traditional primary runoff elections, the voter turnout is dismal. It really is. How do you get folks to the polls? I know here in Tom Green County we have 3 local runoffs, which is unusual. We've got a justice of the peace, a county commissioner, and a county judge runoff, and that's going to help, I think, generate enough interest to get some turnout locally. What about statewide? How do you get people to the polls again?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I voted early in Ward County. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember. I think Tuesday. And she said that they had had 8 people vote early Monday, and that I was the 4th on Tuesday. Now, granted, it was 9 o'clock in the morning, so it was still early. And it's a very small county, right? But at the same time, I'm hopeful that we've got enough people in the oil and gas industry, 350,000 plus people in Texas, that realize how important it is. Those of us in the industry, they all back me, right?
Yep,
There's a
right.
select noisy few that are paying for PACs and backing my opponent. But those of us that are out there every day in the oil fields, living and breathing and drinking the water, and we're on these roads, we know about flaring because we live with it.
Right.
And we understand that we need the industry, but we want it done right. And so I think that there's motivation. I've been getting text messages just before we walked in, right? Somebody said, I voted for you yesterday, my parents voted for you today, and I got 3 college kids that have never voted in a primary runoff to go and vote. So I'm hopeful that we just need people to show up and not be discouraged, that it really is every vote matters, right? And if
Right.
you've only got 5%, then your one vote counts for 20.
That's
so
right.
It's really important to get people out.
That's exactly right. And in this very short time since the primary on March 1st, you've been endorsed by almost every major newspaper in Texas.
Which apparently is a curse in the Republican Party. I got the other day, you're endorsed by the Chronicle. They only endorse liberals. I'm not. Like, damned if you do, damned if you don't,
Exactly.
you know? But yes, all the major newspapers have endorsed me. Barstool Sports has endorsed me. Walton and Johnson has endorsed me. So.
Well, and I know that, and you've heard this before, that the Wayne Christian strategy, the incumbent strategy, is or one of their lines is, oh well, the incumbent is more likely to win against the other guys that are running in November.
Which is so not true.
And you've proven that. I mean, to gain the support that you've got. This is the point in time where I step away from the mic and I don't ask any questions. This is where you get to talk to our audience, your message unfiltered, Sarah Stogner, to the voters of this Concho Valley. We got about 65,000 of them, so take as long as you need. What's your message to the voters this last day before Election Day?
Yeah, I think thank you, right? I couldn't have gotten here without the voters to begin with. So thank you for watching. Thank you for asking. Thank you for caring. I'm humbled. I really am humbled by the outpouring of support, and God works in mysterious ways. So here we are. Follow your heart. I ask people to do their research. I understand I am not everyone's cup of tea, right? I make the analogy that I'm a lot like black licorice. People have very strong feelings one way or the other. But, I love this. I love Texas. I love this industry. I live in the Permian Basin. I used to have a lake house on Lake Nasworthy. I love this area, right? And I want to make sure that our economy is vibrant and that we prevent federal intervention And we need someone with industry expertise, not a Grammy-nominated gospel singer. He has no oil and gas experience. I'm an oil and gas lawyer. I'm a mom. I'm a Christian. I'm very fiscally conservative. And I really am I'm asking for the opportunity to get in there for 6 years and make a difference for all Texans. So please get out and vote.
And you mentioned on social media that it's just 6 years.
Yes.
So we're looking at, you even said, I hope you find somebody to replace me in
Please.
60, that term limits.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. Let's get term limits. Let's get right. Look, no matter what happens tomorrow, I now know too much to not take action. Right? God puts us in unique situations, and He gives us an opportunity to talk. And evil persists when good men do nothing. And so I'm here to stay involved and educated, and to try to get the vote out. But no, I'm not going. I have no other political aspirations. I don't want to be governor. Just let me get in, help fix the oil and gas, and go back to playing with the dogs on the ranch with my daughter.
There we go. Sarah, thank you so much for being here, and best of luck tomorrow and on down the road.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
While you're here, this gives me the perfect opportunity to say tomorrow is Election Day, and the polls here will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We have the 3 local runoff elections. Again, that's County Judge, County Commissioner in Precinct 4, and Justice of the Peace in Precinct 3. We have your race for Railroad Commissioner. We have the race for Land Commissioner, and we have the race for Attorney General. So there are 6 very, very important races on the Republican ballot in Tom Green County. There is a Democrat ballot where they have runoffs for.
All right, Yadis Green, Sarah Stogner, a.k.a. Black Licorice. Her new nickname there, not by us, but by her, what she was talking about there. Like Yadis and I shared earlier, shared words about, I don't think this is the last we've seen of Miss Sarah Stogner. 37-year-old attorney from the Permian Basin, very, very smart, very articulate, and just has a lot of upside. Certainly learned some things from this campaign season. All right, well, let's take a look at the updated results. These appear to be unofficial final results. And let's begin with the Tom Green County judge race. This has already kind of been called by Mr. Todd Coles because he has conceded in this race, as he informed Mr. Lane Carter, as Lane Carter received 53% of the vote tonight. Todd Coles is 47%, 3,243 votes going in favor of Mr. Carter to 2,955 votes to Todd Coles. If you look in the early voting, man, this one was it was neck and neck. I mean, throughout the entire thing, 100 more votes going to Lane Carter in that particular race. So we move forward to County Commissioner Precinct 4, Bill Ford, Sean Nanny. Sean Nanny gaining 60% of the vote to Bill Ford's 40%. The incumbent there, Mr. Bill Ford, 1,143 votes to Mr. Sean Nanny, 716 votes for Mr. Bill Ford, the incumbent. Looks like Sean Nanny will be your next Commissioner of Precinct 4. Ron Perry, Stacy, Speck in Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3. Mind you, this is northern San Angelo, Grape Creek, Water Valley, Carlsbad, in that particular northern area of Tom Green County. Stacy Speck gaining 60% of the vote. That equates to just 2 votes shy of 900 votes to Ron Perry's 603 total votes. This one, you see Stacy Speck, we go back to the early voting. This one, she kind of started building some momentum there, 346 early votes, and then election day, as you see there, 496 votes. Moving along, Texas Attorney General George P. Bush versus Ken Paxton, the incumbent. Ken Paxton gaining 56% of the vote here in Tom Green County to George P. Bush's 44%. Don't think this is the last we've seen of Mr. George P. Bush. Don Buckingham, Tim Wesley, 57% to Miss Don Buckingham, 42% to Mr. Tim Wesley in Land Commissioner there. All right, Railroad Commissioner Wayne Christian, Sarah Stogner. We just heard from Miss Sarah Stogner here in Tom Green County. Well, they sided with Wayne Christian, 67% of the vote going to him, and 33% going to Miss Sarah Stogner in that. And the last race that we're following tonight, this is Precinct Chair, Precinct 215 for the Republican Party, Beth Urick, Steve W. Hampton. Mr. Hampton Beth Urick gaining 51% of the vote there to 49% for Mr. Steve Hampton. All right. When we come back, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We will hear from the winner tonight, Mr. Lane Carter himself, as he gains the unofficial victory for the Republican Party here in Tom Green County for Tom Green County Judge. We'll hear from him when we come back. Since 1994, Angelo Bolt has been the leader in San Angelo and the Concho Valley for industrial fasteners, tools, and supplies. With our extensive inventory, we will most likely have what you need for any commercial or personal job. Our knowledgeable staff has many years of experience to assist you in finding the tool or fasteners you need. At Angelo Bolt, customer service is our top priority. Come see us today at 808 Warehouse Road or call 655-0075.
For the last 5.5 years as a San Angelo City Councilman, I helped solve difficult challenges facing this community. As your next Tom Green County Judge, we'll face similar challenges, and I'm ready to get started on day one. We will improve retention like we did with the San Angelo Police, Fire Department, as well as public sector employees while lowering your tax rates. I have a plan for our county. Tom Green County needs a judge that's ready to work for you. I'm Lane Carter, and I'm ready to serve you as your next Tom Green County Judge.
Well, there he is, Lane Carter. Unofficially, you are the Republican nominee for Tom Green County Judge here. First and foremost, how does it feel for this process to be over? Second question, two-part question here. How does it feel to gain this nomination here?
It feels great. It's a blessing. It's been a long road to get to this through the primary and then the runoff. Happy to be here. It feels amazing to have that nomination for the Republican Party to, represent our constituents for this title.
Definitely. Well, it's you campaign. I mean, you did a lot of door knocking. How much of that formula did you take from running for city council into running for Tom Green County Judge?
110% of it. Absolutely. I believe in that grassroots wholeheartedly. That's how you get out in front of everybody and you get engage with the constituents. You're knocking on the door. They don't know you. You don't know them. During this, a lot of them knew me because I had been on council. I've been elected. So walking up to a few people, they said, "Hey, Mr. Carter, I recognize you from city council. I know what you're running for. You got my vote." And that felt good. They believed in me, so I'm here to make sure that I'm doing the job well for them.
Most definitely.
Well, this has been. Are you older? Because I swear that when this race started,
little bags.
we were all younger. I said earlier, I think coat style changed during this election because it's been so long.
It's been a while.
But congratulations. And we were talking earlier. This was a stellar crop of candidates, and this was not easy.
It was not.
And it was not an easy choice for the voters. But you prevailed in. You came out. You came out on top in the primary.
Yes.
And but not 50% plus one. Right, so that's we wind up here.
That's why we're sitting here right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Some COVID months later,
yes.
at yet another election and another win. So the only hurdle left mechanically is what's going to happen with Gary Jenkins. And we visited with him earlier tonight, and he seems to have this path. But there's one more election, the general election, November 8th. How do you handle this? The next 30 days is probably salad days because you don't have an opponent yet.
Right.
But what do you do then, from then until November?
During the very first part of this next stage, I'm going to call it the third stage. During the third stage, I'm going to meet with everybody that I need to. Mm-hmm. And then once the campaign starts back up, during that time, I'll be engaging with constituents, finding out their issues. I know a lot of them. I think we're all in the same boat right now. Property taxes are going to be an issue. Yeah. The civil servants, they know that. Mm-hmm. So we all know something needs to happen there. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of issues that needs to be worked out. And I look forward to working with Judge Floyd.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you talked to Steve tonight?
I have not.
Okay.
Unless he was one of the many phone calls that I missed as my phone
when
died.
your phone died.
My phone died, and I had a couple. I haven't checked them all.
Okay. Okay.
So
Lane, what was, because you touched on it, grassroots campaigning, door to door, talking with a lot of people, and I've seen you in action with all that. What was the biggest thing that people brought to your attention that they wanted to see, maybe not change, but addressed or maybe changed, and brought into that whole light of that conversation?
it was a lot of the same style issues as the city council. It truly was. Everybody wants their infrastructure taken care of. And you have those issues coincidentally with city, county. We're all in the same boat on those types. You need to take care of those because we see them, we're driving on them. We don't want to hit a pothole.
Yep.
Our civil servants, same thing. We had issues with pay raises in the police department and fire department. We helped correct those. We're going to face the same kind of issues along with our development that we have in the county over the next few decades. We need to address those now so we can keep our retention rates well.
Wow.
So
You're going to have like 27 phone calls.
Yes.
From elected
Yes.
officials and department heads
I'm looking
from
forward to it.
Tom Green County, and those folks, from my experiences, they're the best of the best. They're great employees. They're dedicated to what they do.
Right.
They know their jobs.
They do.
They're fantastic folks, and I just have a sneaking suspicion that whether it's you or Gary, they are going to get behind you and help you in every possible way they can.
Yes, I think so too. I'm looking forward to working with every single one of them, knowing the ins and outs of their job day-to-day basis,
Yep.
their needs. I want them to feel like they can come to me and voice their opinions and their needs, and have someone to listen to them. Not saying that it hasn't happened right now. Not saying that Judge Floyd's been fantastic. But I just want them to know, as the changing of the guard comes, that they will have someone that is right there with them.
Absolutely. Some years ago when you ran for city council here in the city of San Angelo, did you ever envision yourself, did you ever picture yourself in this position to where you would be able to not only run for Tom Green County judge, but win a nomination from the Republican Party?
No. I didn't have a plan to say, okay, I'm going to do this election and then get through another one and then risk it that someone's going to retire and move up to that one. I didn't have any of that. It's been this entire time, it's been the Lord's will. If wherever He places me is where I'm going to go. Yeah. And 2 years ago, when I met with Judge Floyd, at lunch, and I was interested at county level because a lot of people were saying, "Hey, can you help me with this more than what you're, at a broader scale?" Right. So I met with him, and that's when he told me that he was retiring at the end of this term.
Wow.
And it got me to thinking that, okay, if someone of those elected officials were not going to run for this position, and I made some phone calls to make sure that none of them did, that I would step up, and if it was meant to be, it was meant to be. So I decided 2 years ago that I would run. Stayed on. I think I was maybe the last one to announce in November because I had, as a sitting elected official, I had budget cycles to go through at the city council, and I couldn't leave them high and dry with no one in that seat. So here we are.
Yeah,
here we are.
Yeah. Well, you've got. I guess you're going to take a little time to repair signs. We just had another storm.
Yes.
And
luckily, we can take those down for a little while. We have to take them down. So that's one thing that I did not foresee.
Oh.
I don't remember that part of the first council campaign with all of our signs of babysitting signs so much.
Yep.
But
that's another project. Yeah, absolutely.
It is. And it's a job by itself.
Yes. Well, Lane, we congratulate
Thank you.
It's been fun kind of watching you grow, from the city council up until this point, gaining the Republican nomination for Tom Green County Judge. We wish you nothing but the best of luck. I know there's you said it. This is level 3 of the game that is Tom Green. For all this. Now we have to see what happens with Gary Jenkins and if he can gain 500 signatures to petition to be on the ballot in November to represent the independent.
I just want to say one more thing. I want to thank the other 3 candidates for running outstanding campaigns. It's been a blessing to get to know every single one of them, and the support that Joe had thrown behind me, and just knowing Todd, Joe, Tommy Ushery, you get to meet a lot of people new, and hopefully friendships are gained. And, just thank them for what they did, what they stood for, and hopefully to have their support as the Republican nominee.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you one piece of advice.
Okay.
Just one. Thank your wife.
Yes, yes. Thank my wife. I did that at Mr. T's a little bit ago at our watch party. She has been at home with the kids. That's one thing I'm going to look forward to right away is let's take the kids on a little vacation.
There you go. Recharge the batteries, reconnect.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely. All right. Well, Lane Carter, he is unofficially gained the nomination for the Republican Party for Tom Green County Judge. Lane, congratulations.
Thank you.
We wish you nothing but the best
of
of luck.
We will see you again.
Yes. Yes, indeed. In the meantime, we will take a commercial break, and we will be right back after this.
For 6 years as an ER and OR nurse right here in San Angelo, I experienced firsthand the effects of mental illness. According to studies, 3.3 million Texans are living with mental illness. In Tom Green County, 25% of our jail population suffers from some level of mental illness that costs us tax dollars. Using my experience and training as a healthcare professional, I have a plan to help families, which means reducing pressure on law enforcement. I'm Lane Carter, and I'm ready to serve you as your next Tom Green County Judge. For 6 years as an ER and the safety of your family and your home is what matters the most. We can improve your public safety in the county by better supporting the volunteer fire departments. These brave men and women need better equipment and better facilities, and by doing so, we can lower the cost of living outside the city limits. Tom Green County needs a judge with the ideas and experience to execute this plan. I'm Lane Carter, and I'm ready to serve you as your next Tom Green County Judge.
They're going to be nuts. Yep.
All right. Well, hello and welcome back to this special primary runoff election show right here on San Angelo Live, presented by Angelo Bolt and Industrial Supply. We just visited with Lane Carter, who is unofficially won the Republican nomination to represent the party for Tom Green County Judge. We will now wait to see what happens with Gary Jenkins, who needs 500 signatures for people who have not yet voted in the primary and have not yet voted in the runoff. That's a tall task.
In either the Democrat Party or the Republican Party in Tom Green County. So that's a narrow pool of folks who are interested enough to get involved. So but he told us he's got a plan and he's ready to execute that.
Yeah, so we wish him nothing but the best of luck because he's certainly going to need it. But I think if there's somebody that can that has a will to weigh, maybe to do something, it may be Gary Jenkins to do that.
I did want to let this broadcast end without thanking Vonna Hudson and her team down there. I think they did an outstanding job to get the results out as quickly as they did. And again, when we visited, and she has said this ever since she took over that position, that she will be sure that those results are accurate before they're released. Mm-hmm. So I, again, admire that. They were out in a timely manner tonight. The questions we had were answered. Yep. And her team out there and all those folks that work those 18 polling locations for 12 hours today, hats off to you guys. Yeah. That is a long, long day. Definitely. And we appreciate it. And the people of Tom Green County, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, before we leave you tonight, let's take one last look at the unofficial results of here locally and statewide. And as you can see there, Mr. Lane Carter defeating Todd Coles tonight, 53% to 47%, 3,243 votes going in the direction of Lane Carter, 2,955 votes in the direction of Mr. Todd Coles. Lane Carter, your unofficial winner tonight to represent the Republican Party. Moving along, County Commissioner Precinct 4, Bill Ford, Sean Nanny. The incumbent Bill Ford has been defeated tonight by Sean Nanny, 60% to 40%, 1,153 votes going towards Sean Nanny, while 776 votes going towards the incumbent Bill Ford. It appears Sean Nanny will become the new Precinct 4 County Commissioner. Ron Perry, Stacy, Speck in the Justice of the Peace Precinct 3 race. Stacy Speck running away with this one, 60% to 40% of Ron Perry, 898 votes in the direction of Ms. Speck, 603 votes in the direction of Mr. Ron Perry. All right, statewide results coming from right here in Tom Green County. Ken Paxton, 56% to George P. Bush's 44% in that particular race. Moving along, General Land Commissioner here, Don Buckingham, Tim Wesley, 57% to Don Buckingham, with Tim Wesley, 42%. Wayne Christian, Sarah Stogner for Railroad Commissioner. Wayne Christian winning this one, 67% to 33% for Sarah Stogner. These are results coming from Tom Green County. All right, Precinct Chair from Precinct 215 of the Republican Party, Beth Urick, Steve W. Hampton. Beth Urick taking this one, 51% to 49% there. All right, man, it is finally over, the campaign season here. When we come, we're going to take one last commercial break. We will have final thoughts.
Okay.
One last break when we come back. Since 1994, Angelo Bolt has been the leader in San Angelo and the Concho Valley for industrial fasteners, tools, and supplies. With our extensive inventory, we will most likely have what you need for any commercial or personal job. Our knowledgeable staff has many years of experience to assist you in finding the tool or fasteners you need. At Angelo Bolt, customer service is our top priority. Come see us today at 808 Warehouse Road or call 655-0075. Yep. Cannot thank Angelo Bolt and Industrial Supply for their support tonight. Thank you guys so much. It's been an honor having them as our presenting sponsor tonight in this fantastic election coverage that we've had. We've highlighted all of the local races, touched on a number of the statewide races. Mm-hmm. We even heard from some of those folks, Yanis.
We did. We talked to everybody but Ken Paxton. And I don't think that there's a news outlet in West Texas that has had the coverage that we've had, and a lot of that is due to you and Matt Trammell and James Bellini and Joe Hyde and just the entire crew that has made this happen, and we actually have interviews that we didn't get to tonight, but we will air in the coming days.
Yep. Yeah, indeed so, and I have to kind of repeat those same words. I mean, our coverage tonight, forget whatever the rest of the state of Texas is doing, San Angelo Live, we brought it tonight. And just the interviews that we had, I mean, it's so good. And we gave everybody an opportunity to kind of come on, especially our local guys. We didn't leave out anybody, as others may have. We didn't leave out anybody, and so.
That's very true.
Yeah.
One of the things that crossed my mind while we were talking with Lane is and then seeing the results that Bill Ford it is not going to be the commissioner anymore come January 1st. You're going to have 2 new members of the Tom Green County Commissioners Court out of 5 voting members. It only takes 3 to get something passed. So you got 2 new members, which is going to be different. The personality of the court will change, of course, led by the new judge, whether that's Gary or Lane. But the personality of the court's going to change. There's going to be a different dynamic with all the other 26 elected officials in Tom Green County. So change is coming, and it is probably not a bad thing. I did want to mention that, we talked a lot about Sarah Stogner today, that she did tweet a while ago that, of course, she lost to Wayne Christian, the incumbent. She said, it's a marathon, not a sprint, on Twitter. She said, thank you to the tribe. See y'all at the convention, which is the Republican Party of Texas convention that will be held in Houston in June. She'll be attending that. And she also said, let's get the name changed of the Texas Railroad Commission, because the Texas Railroad Commission has nothing to do with railroads and everything to do with oil and gas.
Yeah.
So
I think she has represented the oil and gas industry, the Permian Basin, West Texas. I mean, just the state. She put together a solid campaign, and it may not be surprising to see her do this again and run for this office or do something else.
She certainly upped her her authority and her status statewide, and we will talk to her again.
Yeah. Well, with that said, this kind of draws a close to the night, a close to the campaign season. We are the jury is still out to see what happens with Gary Jenkins in the coming days, the coming 28 days. He has less than a month to gather 500 signatures from folks that have not voted Democrat, folks that have not voted Republican in the primary or the runoff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Nonetheless, for our fine crew tonight, James Bellini, Matt Trimmel's been punching this thing up, Joe Hyde, and then of course Yanis Green.
Glad to be here. This is again. This is sort of my football season.
Yep.
It's and we made it to the final game.
Yeah.
So it's been a trek. It's been a journey, an odyssey, as Eddie Howard would say. And again, the voters. This is all about their decision and their choice, and not what I think. And I think they made their decisions. The voters get it right. That's the way this country is run. That's the way this state is run, and that's the way we elect those folks who represent us.
Right. Well, this being my last live show, live production with you guys for a big major project, and we've had a number of these over the last few years.
Yeah.
It has been fun. It has been real. I know I will see you guys down the road. I'm only just an hour and change. We'll be in Abilene representing with KTAB and KRBC. And I tell you, a lot of these same principles that we developed here at San Angelo Live, they're going up the road with me. So I know we'll be challenging you guys at some point in the near future with all of that.
Well,
so.
we wish you well, but we want to continue to lead the pack.
So. Oh yeah, well I'm going to try to tear it down. I'm going to try to tear down what I helped build up here. So that's the name of the game. But nonetheless, it's been fun. It's been real tonight. Congratulations to all the winners tonight here locally, statewide. I saw that Stacy Speck was watching tonight. She joined us here, so congratulations to her. Congratulations, Ron Perry, and just a fantastic campaign. So thank you guys so much for all the many for those folks who I just listed there who helped out tonight. We're a big part of the show, of course, Yanis Green. I'm Manny Diaz. Good night. God bless. See you next time.